start on that after the opening.
Correct.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Mara Triangle. We're sitting here with millions of wildebeest, well, maybe a couple 100,000. My name is James Hendry, and this is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
And your first Mara surprise, everybody, is quite possibly the largest and most magnificent male lion that I have ever seen. Well, to be honest, he is at about 300 meters, so he might be not the most magnificent, but at this distance, with the vista all around, the incredible plains of Africa behind him, the light coming through the clouds, a little herd of buffalo, a whole lot of wildebeest, he is the most magnificent male lion I've ever seen. He's got a great big dark black mane. There's the light falling through the clouds onto the plains beyond, north of the Mara River. You are on a live safari, in case you're wondering what on earth this fellow waffling at you is. And that lion's now, sorry, come back to him. He's being chased by the buffalo. They're not happy to see him. You're on a live safari, everybody. Please talk to us. Hashtag Safari Live, questions at wildearth.tv. We're in Kenya, down in South Africa. Jamie Patterson, the infinite, the elegant antelope, will be telling you about the wonders of the Kruger National Park. Likewise, Tayla, she's our newest addition, our proudest addition to Safari Live. She's going to be also exploring Djuma, Cheetah Plains and Arathusa this afternoon. There with Eggsy and David, respectively. I'm with Jeandre on camera. He is not going to put his grubby thumb into the front of the lens because he is now filming the biggest male lion in all of Africa being chased by a whole lot of buffalo. Jeandre, the buffalo chasing. There we are. See, look, they're moving on now. This is absolutely fantastic, everyone. Gorgeous, gorgeous sighting. And if there is a little bit of jerking, it's just because we're breathing. That lion's quite far away, and we're going to move very shortly to see if we can't get a better view of him, because I think he's getting close to the road. In fact, I think we should do that right now. Jeandre, hold on. Batten down the hatches, everybody. Here we go. Yeah. You may hear a collective sitting down and sighing. It's not just Jeandre in the vehicle, everyone. Mrs. Wallington and Mr. Wallington are also in the car. They are doing various things, mostly debating furiously as about where we should be going and what we should be doing. Hello, Jeandre. Thank you very much. You can see this car set up slightly differently from Wendy and Jigger and Rusty. This is a very large Land Rover. I didn't think I'd ever miss Wendy, Jigger and Rusty, but I can tell you categorically that I do. Now, the idea, we're sitting here in the Mara Triangle trying to, we're telling the story of the migration. There was a large crossing of wildebeest earlier. That first big herd that you saw, sort of streaming across the plains there, they crossed from the north earlier today. And unfortunately, we weren't around when that happened, but that's just how it goes out here. I'm sure a number of them were eaten by the crocodiles, but now into the Mara Triangle, and that's because we've had so much rain here over the last little while. Last night, an unspeakably magnificent evening. We watched the Kichwa Tembo Pride of 4 lionesses and 2 young male lions killing a young baby zebra in the light of the infrared. It was a fantastic experience, and we're hopefully going to go and do the same thing again now. Our tracker-in-chief, Peter Braat, accompanied by Robert, he is now sitting with that pride. At the moment, they're sitting very comfortably under a tree, waiting for the evening to come. Look at this magnificent fellow coming towards us. Isn't that awesome, everyone?
That's Scar.
Everybody, this is an extremely famous lion. Well spotted, Jeandre. His name is Scarface. And he was usurped, apparently, by the 3 males we've been watching recently. He's a massive fellow. He's lost his right eye. See that? Oh my goodness, I can't believe we're seeing him. He's one of the most famous lions in all of Eastern Africa. He's an old fellow. He's probably well over 10 years old. Ah, goodness, this is amazing. Look at the buffalo coming up behind. They're telling him exactly what they think of him. And it's not what we think of him. We think he's magnificent, don't we? Jean-Ray, that's a magnificent identification of the lion. Well done. That'll also be the last compliment you get from me today. Also, you can see perhaps on his teeth, he's got a completely black mane. He's missing an eye, obviously, so he looks like a pirate. He's got bluntish teeth. He's got a totally black nose. He's an old fellow. He's not young. Gosh, this is... I cannot believe this luck. I'd love to know if anybody's ever heard of this lion, everyone. I'd love to know if any of you have wanted to see him or perhaps been following him. I think he has his own Facebook page, such as His Eminence. Look at the size of his mane, everyone. He is at least 20% bigger and heavier than any of those Birmingham fellows, just on account of his age. And the fact that he's managed to survive this long in this environment, it is truly spectacular. Look at those buffalo coming towards him. He has really got some salon quality hair there. Well, actually, it's a bit like yours, Jean-Ray, but darker than yours. But a very similar sort of style. He actually looks like the lead singer of an 80s sort of hard rock band. He looks like John Bon Jovi, circa 1983 or so. Gosh, look at that. He's got a full pom-pom as well. Magnificent pom-pom. Hello, Lover Music. You're a new viewer. It's wonderful to have you along, and what a great time for you to have joined us. While this is your first safari with us, and it's a great joy to have you, this is our first sighting of Scarface, the male lion of the Mara Triangle. These buffalo, they are not happy. I'm just going to stand up, everybody. He's going to wobble slightly. You can see they're following him. They are not in the least bit impressed to see him. And behind us, you might be able to hear the alarm calls of the topi and some impala that are watching him come towards us. This is just so wonderful. I'm just getting some photography lessons from Graham Wallington via sign languages. Oh, I see. Graham's saying he's limping. He is limping. Oh, here we go. He's an incredible animal. He's coming straight towards us. He likes the smell of Jean-Ray's aftershave. Or maybe Mrs. Wallington. Who knows? But he's tired and he's old, and I think he's probably about, I think he's probably about 12, you know. That's an old male lion. Not a big herd of buffalo, but they are not tolerating him. And on his own like this, with the whole herd turned to face him, he doesn't really pose much of a danger to them at all. Except, I suspect, were he to truly push through on an attack, I suspect the rest of them would scarper and he'd be able to take a small one. There's a little calf just in the background there. Right, I'm just going to move the vehicle slightly. Sorry, Jean-Ray, there's another car coming and we have to just get out the way. Right, let's move. Jean-Ray, are you all right there? Hello, James. You're wondering why Scarface has such a dark mane compared with the Birminghams. Well, Scarface has such a dark mane because he's older than them. James, there's no other reason for it other than that. Is that okay, Jean-Ray? He's older than them. His testosterone levels are very high. That's how he's managed to maintain such an amazing sort of status as this great lion of the Mara Triangle. And there the buffalo now turning away. They no longer feel that he's a terrifying threat. Gee whiz, I can't believe we saw this. Wow, we've been lucky here. So I think, as far as I'm aware, those 7 cubs that have recently been killed by the 3 usurpers, the Marsh Male Coalition, I think that he probably was the father of those 3. And anybody who would like to tell us a bit more about Scarface, I know many of you watch the great celebrity wildlife icons of Africa on Facebook and on various social media platforms. Please feel free to tell us about him. I'd love to know a bit more about him. Hello, Maria. You're wondering if those, if the Marsh Male Coalition we've been watching are perhaps the offspring of the Notch Boys, the famous Notch Boys. Maybe they're from, I'm assuming you watched them during the Big Cat Diaries. They could well be. I think it's more than likely, yes. Do I think that that we'll see the Notch Boys? I think it's highly unlikely. And that's because, Maria, they're the other side of the river. So we're in the Mara. The Mara, of course, is split in 2 by the Mara River, and we're on the eastern side of the bank, western side, and the Notch Boys and the rest of the Marsh Pride live on the eastern side of the Mara River, and it's a very convenient kind of territorial marker. And these lions don't often cross. This fellow must have crossed fairly recently, though, I think. Gosh, that was spectacular, wasn't it? To see a lion walking through this grass, you can see how perfectly coloured he is, why he's this colour. I got to tell you, when we came out today, I was terribly nervous. I thought we had such a good time last night. I don't know how could we possibly top it? Well, this place just can't stop delivering. It really is spectacular. Now, Jean-André, while he's lying there doing not much at all, what I'm going to ask you to do is just go off to where the light is touching the far plains there across the river, and just show, I think it's a herd of wildebeest there. And they may or may not come down towards the river sometime during the afternoon. So what our plan is to do, basically, is going to be to check these crossings once more, and then we're going to slowly make our way back towards the Kitchwatembo Pride and see what they do during the course of the evening. There's some wildebeest, I think, to the right of... Oh, no, there you are. You're on the right place. Are there wildebeest there? Have I gone mad? I think I've gone mad. While I take my madness medication, everybody, let's head across to Jamie Patterson, the elegant antelope, and find out about the elephants that she has to show you.
Good afternoon and welcome on our very special extended sunset safari. I do hope James has some extra madness medication, because we can take some and then we can give some to Rebecca, who called me an elephant antelope. Or was that James? I'm not 100% sure. I just got it coming through in my ear. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon I have Zander on camera with me, and we are starting off with this incredible scene in front of us on a blisteringly hot summer afternoon here on Djuma Private Game Reserve. So we're very far away from where James is now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time. So we are coming to you live from a place called Djuma in the Sabi Sand in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. So an entirely different type of bush, which means occasionally slightly different animals, although in this case this is something you could see with James as well. A herd of elephants enjoying a swim, or at least a wade and a meal. And we were with them earlier, and some of them have been having an absolute ball here in Chelepan, totally covered in water, and I'm hoping that these elephants, once they've finished their meal, will also have a little bit of fun splashing in the muddy water. So a very warm welcome on a 38-degree day. Okay, sorry, it's 36. I'm exaggerating slightly. It's 36, which is 98 degrees in Fahrenheit. That's still relatively warm. In fact, it's still very warm. And the elephants, as the massive animals that they are taking a full advantage of the water that we have had since the rains fell. I'm trying to work out why my blanket's moving. It's like something out of The Princess and the Pea. Hold on. Here we go. That's why my blanket's moving. You're very strong. Now the fruit chafer. Sorry to distract you from the elephants. We'll go back to them in 1 second. I'm just getting rid of a bug. There was a bug underneath my lap. There he is. Another fruit chafer. But I don't want to distract you. Oopsie daisy. Here we go. I'll just pop you. Be free. And off it goes. Hello, Ellies. Have you been having a wonderful swim? We actually started off earlier with the rest of the herd, which is a couple of 100 meters away from where we are now. And I immediately noticed that there was something wrong with the body language of one of the females. Hello, big girl. You coming to say hello? Your little baby's gorgeous, big girl. Hello. Yes. It's all right. It's okay. The story I was going to tell you was that one of the females was looking at us down her nose, and they have a very special way that they let you know that they're not happy with you, elephants, and they kind of lift up their head. Never mind, let's go to James, see what the lion's doing.
See it. There's Topi, everybody, are looking at a totally different lion. We've just come up to the river here to see if there's something going on, and there is. It's not a crossing, but there's a lioness in that thicket there. She's just flushed those wildebeest and Topi, who I think were maybe thinking about going back across the river. This is a traditional crossing point. Let's see what unfolds here. It's almost impossible to tell what's going on, of course, because there's so much going on all over the place. Look at the white beards of those gnu's. Look, there, the Topi are running now. Now, the lions here do a lot of sort of sprinting. They're not the sort of ambush predators in the same way that they are in the Sabi sand, mainly because there's not much to hide behind. Jean-Ray, do you see the very large tree? Go to the base of that. There's the lioness. She's just underneath there. There's our second lion. You've never seen that lion before. And nor have we. This is our first sighting of that lioness. Don't know how many there are in there. Can only see the one so far. There's just action all over this place. It is quite astounding. Hello, Joey in Australia. You want to know what a Topi alarm call sounds like? It sounds like this. There, that last one was a good one. Practice it at home, Joey. Chandra, would you like to practice it? No, that's pathetic. And we're just getting Mr. Wallington to keep an eye on Scarface. He's just behind us. Grief, we really don't know where to look here. I don't think she's going to do too much. Let's sit with her for 5 minutes. Then we're going to go back to Scarface, and then we're going to head for the other pride and see what they're doing. They are, at the moment, Tracker-in-Chief Peter Braat says they are sleeping. Look, the Topi behaving exactly like a buffalo would or an impala in the Selby Sand. You've seen them many times doing that, approaching the predator, as if to say, I can see you. Now, that distance, a Topi is an extremely fast antelope, one of the fastest. And so the lion wouldn't have much chance. Now I was waiting for this question. I'm very pleased it has come. Hello, James Richard. You say, what is the social structure or herd structure of the Topi like? Apparently the most variable of any antelope at all. How do I know that? Well, I read it yesterday morning, because I was quite confused about it myself. In this particular area, it would seem that, well, it is pretty variable. There are areas where it's pretty standard issue harem structure of a male and a couple of females. And sometimes they move in agglomerations of up to 2,000 at a time, where it's very unclear who's dominant over who. Sometimes they live completely singly, sometimes in a little group of females, but it's the most variable herd structure of any antelope species there is, and I think it probably depends quite largely on exactly sort of what is, how much there is to eat as to what their herd structure actually is. Isn't that fantastic? Look at her glorious colours there. Now, this is a totally different lioness. She could come from, what had we heard? It's called the Paradise Place Pride, I think. Was that right, Graham? It was the Paradise something Pride. I think that's who she's part of. Here come the topi. Look at this wonderful running we're watching here, everyone. Look at them go. Oh, that's beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm going to have to stand up, Jandri. There, they made an alarm call. They went... Hi, everyone. I'm just checking on Scarface back there. The buffalo don't seem to have eaten him, but they are moving towards him. Difficult to know what to do. I think we're going to go back to Scarface. I'm going to snap off one horrendous picture. Very nice. There we go. Okay, let's go back to Scarface, because I don't think this lioness is going to try and catch one of these things right now. We'll just have a quick last look at them moving there. All right, let's go. Now she's going down in towards the river. I think it's going to be worth our while going back to that male, because I'm not sure we'll see him again. Alright, while we get into position, you haven't seen Tayla yet this afternoon. That is a dreadful pity. Let's remedy that immediately. Go and say hello to Tayla, and we'll see you with that big lion.
Hello everybody, and for those of you who are very keen birders, we've got a pair of African hawk eagles, and I think this could be a first for some of you. I haven't really seen too many of them around, but let me first introduce myself, everybody. My name is Tayla, and on camera with me we've got David. And I don't know if you heard that noise. The go-away birds are shouting, and they're giving off alarm calls because of those two eagles that are sitting up on the top of that tree. Look at them, how beautiful they are. And you can see it's exceptionally hot this afternoon. You can see that these eagles are gaping, just trying to cool themselves down a little bit more. And this is quite special. So remember, everyone, we are on a live safari at the moment. So if you'd like to comment or send us any questions, you are welcome to either hashtag Safari Live, or you can even send us an email, questions@wildearth.tv, and I'd love to hear from you. And I'd love to hear if this is the first time some of you are seeing an African hawk eagle. It's a very special bird to see. Now, the go-away birds, I'm not sure why they're shouting so much, because the main sort of prey that these eagles like to feed on are things like guinea fowl and francolin and spur fowl. But they are shouting anyway, and they're just telling everybody else around them that beware everybody, there are some eagles here. And I wonder if these two don't have a nest nearby. They make a nest very similar to the Wahlberg's eagle, a big platform nest, sort of in the fork of a tree. It'll be quite interesting to have a look, and maybe even just to chat to James and Jamie and see if they've ever seen a pair hanging around in this area. But we've got so many animals surrounding us, not quite like James, but I have seen a beautiful Inyala bull, who we'll hopefully see. He's down on the right, just below these birds. But the Nyala don't seem particularly bothered by the birds, by the big eagles. You can see he's there. He's got his head down, looking for something to eat. What are you feeding on? That's actually quite interesting. Look what this Inyala is eating. I don't know if you can see. Now, typically the Inyala have their heads up in the trees, but can you see eating all those lovely new sprigs of green grass that we've been chatting about over the last few days? Amazing. So even the browsers, like I said, the nyala, the kudu, the bushbuck, it's now not uncommon to see them feeding on the nice vegetation rather than having to eat the brown, bitter, tannin-filled leaves that are sort of the only food source for them that is left at the moment. So hopefully after this rain, once we get a bit of grass, the next thing that's going to develop on the trees is the leaves, but that, I suspect, will take a little bit longer. And don't forget, everybody, we are still doing a screenshot of a quarantined open area that we do every afternoon. So at some point I'll be popping past there so you can all see the change. And I can't believe overnight it's like the grass has grown a few centimeters. It's actually quite spectacular. And what I'm hoping to do is actually want to try and sneak up a little bit closer to these eagles. They seem very relaxed with us at the moment. I'd love for you to get quite a close look. So let's try. I'm going to have to be very quiet about it. And I'll just let my vehicle run just for a few moments, just so that they get used to the noise. Now, they're not a particularly big eagle. I think they're probably around the same size as a Wahlberg's, maybe even slightly smaller. Let's see. We're going to just take it easy. Maybe hopefully they don't fly. They seem quite relaxed with us this far. Hello, birdies. Don't worry about us. No. Let me stop here. You can see that one was getting a little bit nervous. Here we go. Have a look at the lovely yellow eye. It's a little tongue doing a dance. Now, the go-away birds are still chatting away and shouting. And Tasha Michelle wants to know if these eagles will actually go for the go-away birds. You can hear them there. Now, I don't think particularly that they would necessarily go after a go-away bird. I did mention a few moments ago that they do prefer to catch ground-dwelling birds. So things like guinea fowl, as well as the franklins and the spur fowls. That's sort of their favorite food. But all birds are opportunistic. So if there is an opportunity for them to catch something like that, maybe a go-away bird that's on the ground and not concentrating, then yes, there might be a slim chance that they'd swoop down and try and grab that. They're very uncomfortable in this heat. You see the birds, they don't perspire, so they need to sometimes open their mouths nice and wide and let in all that cold air. You can see it's very uncomfortable. It's actually quite comical to watch. There is a slight little breeze though at the moment. Now, just looking at the length of the tongue. Now, this is something unusual. We don't often get to see the tongue of an eagle. Though the other day, I believe that Jamie and David actually got some really amazing footage of a martial eagle. And it was also sticking its tongue out quite a bit. And I'm unsure on the length of the tongues of birds. Obviously, we know things like woodpeckers and the probers have got a fairly longer tongues. So they seem quite long, but I can't imagine that it has any significance for the bird. I think it's just random. This bird's tongue looks in proportion compared to what I've seen now with the martial eagle. It looks very much the same. But we're going to hang around with these eagles just for a little bit longer to see what they get up to. I'm going to send you over to Jamie, who's got my favorite mammal.
And they are having such a ball on this blisteringly hot afternoon. They've all found a mud wallow that they are rolling in and climbing into and lying right down on their sides, legs up in the air. Now, I would love to get you a better view, but you see this lovely lady on our right here? Yes, that one. She is very beautiful and wonderful, but she's also rather cross. She's in not the best mood I've ever encountered, and if you have a look at her bulging sides, it'll give you an idea as to just why that is. She is heavily pregnant, and I think that's making her feel even grumpier. You can see her sides glistening, so she's at least had a little bit of a mud wallow, having to cool down. But I just don't quite feel comfortable getting any closer whilst she's standing guard. And it seems like every time I arrive, one side or the other of the herd, she is there, looking down her nose at me, her rather sizable nose at me. And elephants are absolutely not to be trifled with, and totally respect their desires and their wishes when they don't want us around. Hey, big girl, are you very pregnant, very hot, and very grumpy? Yes, fair enough. And after a 22-month gestation period, I feel as though she has earned the right to be slightly irritable, and carrying a 100-kilogram baby also probably doesn't help contribute to a particularly good mood. So she is feeling defensive, protective, and not very comfortable at all. And if I had to guess, I would say that that birth is imminent. A couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks at the most. It's something that we always dream of. Just imagine getting to film a live elephant birth. I think that would be one of the most spectacular experiences that you could ever enjoy. Oh, the elephants are lying down again. Oh, girl. I do wish we could come and have a look. They're all having such a ball just behind her. You can see them rolling and glistening in the mud. Just while we are looking at the largest land mammal the largest land mammal full stop, a reminder that we'd like to wish you all a very happy World Rhino Day. Unfortunately, we won't be showing you any rhino, but it is World Rhino Day, and I think that warrants a couple of anecdotes and stories every now and again. So if you stay tuned, we're not going to chat about it just yet, but if you do stay tuned, then we're going to be talking, and I'm sure Tayla will do the same. Tell you some of our favorite and most beloved rhino stories, something that we've enjoyed in our guiding career. Unfortunately, we can't share them with you, but we can certainly share tales of those magnificent animals. So it is World Rhino Day today. We've done, those elephants, I can see them rolling on their sides. I wonder if, no, I can't get a better view from anywhere else. She doesn't, so she's going anywhere. You'll just have to glance through the bushes at them having a marvelous time. And at some point emerging sodden and very much covered in mud. Elephants do this on hot days for a couple of reasons. The first and most obvious is because it's nice for them to do. It's fun, and it cools them down. It also helps to trap any external parasites that might be on their skin, gets into all of the grooves and the cracks, and catches things like ticks and other parasites that have been gathering. So it's basically a skin treatment for them as well. And she is absolutely annihilating that weeping wattle. I thought maybe she raced so fast towards it, I actually thought she might have been coming towards us. Kathleen, you were wondering, is it true that elephants usually give birth at night? And that's a very good question, because of course most of our antelope species give birth first thing in the morning, because it's the safest possible time for their youngsters. Oh, one of them's down again, Eggsy. Right down on its side. Flopping down. They're having an absolute ball in the slippery mud wallow. Sorry, Kathleen. So most antelope give birth at the start of the day in order to afford their little offspring the greatest possible chance of survival, because of course daytime is when most of the predators are not active. Cheetah and wild dog are, and leopard to a degree, but for the most part it gives them a couple of hours in the hottest time of the day when the predators are most likely to be sleeping, to start to learn to run and to use the muscles of their legs and master their coordination. Elephants, as far as I know, there's a relatively equal chance. The elephant births that I have either heard of or narrowly missed seeing have all been during the day. But because they've got the protective herd structure around the offspring, it doesn't necessarily, they probably don't have to time it quite so well towards the beginning of a day when there's no predators. The answer, the long and the short of that answer is, I think it's probably a relatively equal chance giving birth at night or during the day. The only advantage of nighttime is that the mother isn't going to in any way... Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Apparently our mic is giving us a terrible trouble. The only advantage of giving birth at night is that the females will be a little bit cooler. Okay, girl. Good luck. She seems to have completely relaxed with us. She hasn't even given us a backward glance. And there go all the elephants covered in mud. And, oh, one little straggler. Let us head back to one of my top 5 birds of prey, the African hawk eagles.
And the African hawk eagles keep flying away from us, but this one has decided to rest. I think it's quite exhausting flying in this heat today. Now I want to show you a diagram very quickly. Let me place it nicely. That I have home drawn. You'll have a look at it now. There it is. There's me. I drew this. So I just very quickly want to show you about the bird's binocular vision. So you can see over there and again over there how their eyes are positioned on the front of their heads, and it very much like lions and leopards and other mammals that are predators too. And the binocular vision is very important. They're relying on sight more than anything. Now they obviously have very little peripheral vision, as you can see how I've put a blind spot. They've got blind spots on either side. But what else I want to tell you about the vision of these birds, maybe we can have another look at the eagle. Maybe we can see how close we can zoom in on its eye. This one actually looks like it's going to fly. Go! Trail is, and that's what they're leaving behind, and that's the type of vision that these birds are able to see. They specialize in picking up on the UV light. So while that eagle was sitting perched up on that tree, it's actually waiting and hoping to see if it can find something of a fresh urine trail that gives off that very, very bright, sort of like a flashing light towards the bird's eyes that the UV, that the urine gives off with the UV. Goodness, sorry, I'm stumbling on my word stem. My brain is fried. But what I was getting at is that I think these birds are looking for something to eat. Normally, they perch themselves up like that and looking down on the ground, and that's what they've been doing. I think they're either hoping that something like a guinea fowl or a spur fowl, or possibly even something like a squirrel or a hare does come strolling out, and then they can swoop in and try and catch it. But I don't know if we're going to bother these eagles too much more, because I feel bad that every time I move they fly. So maybe we can move on. Right, so as we see, we'll carry on here and try and see what else we can find. Sorry, I did just get a question, but I didn't hear it very clearly. I will answer it now. So, good afternoon, Misal. Thank you for watching the wonderful show. Misal wants to know, why is it called a hawk versus an eagle? Now, typically, an eagle, and I don't know if you managed to see on those eagles, unfortunately they've flown away, so I can't show you now, but the description of an eagle is feet, so all the way to where it's the toes and the talons are, and every other raptor or bird of prey actually lacks this. So I suppose if it's not an eagle, then they've got other names. Buzzards, you've got hawks, you've got all sorts of different things. I hope that answers your... Oh, sorry, my signal is very bad, everybody, and here the ladies in FC. Head to Jamie while I find a better spot.
I wonder where Tayla has gone, that her signal's gone so odd. Oh well, as you know, there are things happening on our live safaris, and every now and again we do lose signal. And we are having major problems with our sound, and we do apologize. We know that it's flying all over the place, and that sometimes it's very loud and sometimes it's very soft, but we do apologize for that, and we are doing our best, and hopefully by tomorrow all audio issues will be sorted out. But we are aware of it. There's not very much we can do right now, so we do thank you for your patience. Right, well, since our elephants have gone into some very dense vegetation, we've decided it's the weather for a nice river cruise. We might not have a river, really. We've got a dried river, and I guess that's the next best thing. So while we explore along our river, the great flowing Mwati drainage line, let's go and see what Kenya has to offer.
Carrion, but I suppose that's what it's going to do. Now this, of course, one of the great migration stories. The crocodiles, the great dinosaurs of the deep, as I have started to sort of clichédedly call them, and they like to wait here, sometimes for up to a year, for the wildebeest to return, and then eventually they know they're going to get an incredible meal. There's another huge croc behind that one. And he has got in his mouth what seems to be half a wildebeest. It really is quite astounding, this place. We've left Scarface. He's fast asleep in the sun, as a man of his standing and stature should be, of course, relaxing in a glorious day like this, perhaps just before some rain. Isn't this wonderful? There's the other croc coming out the water now, Jandri. He's with the sacred ibis. There he's picking up his stuff. That's the stomach contents of probably the same wildebeest. There's a lot of really fairly half-digested grass in that, I suppose. Not very delicious. And there he goes. So you'll be wanting that to rot under the water, except that it's soft tissue. So maybe he just wants to kind of empty it out. None of the predators like to eat the stomach contents. They love the stomach, but not the stomach contents so much. Gee whiz, and that poor little ibis. Oh, look at him eating there. Ugh. Everyone, that will smell and taste something vile. Ah, man. I've got to tell you, when we came out this afternoon, I thought no ways we're going to top yesterday. I don't know if we have done, but we've certainly been fascinated by a whole plethora of new things to see. Scarface, this giant crocodile, sacred ibis eating carrion. Isn't that amazing? Oh, and Jandri, I don't know if you've seen it. There's a small crocodile, a much smaller one, just behind the behemoth. Just right behind him. So in front of, closer to us than to him. Here you are, down below. Oh. Okay, we need to chat. We need to link away, everybody. We're starting to lose signal, so we're gonna cut feed and go back to South Africa.
Hello, and you are on the back of Rusty once again as we trundle along on our river cruise. I'm not entirely sure what's happening, but there's something happening in the Mara. It involves, I'm not entirely sure. But you are back on the vehicle once again with Eggsy and myself. And off we trundle through the Mwati drainage line. It's one of Karula's favourite spots. She's been on a kill in Hoffman's, which is the property to the south of us, over the last few days. And since we're here, thinking about wonderful rhino stories that I can tell, about my favourite rhino and some of the encounters that we've had. My favourite, not that you should have favourites, but the favourite rhino that I've ever encountered was a female called Notches. And not giving any places or any times of whenever it was that I happened to get to know her, her calf was born the day that I started working at this particular place. And his name was Nelson. Notches had the most amazing horn. She was a massive white rhino female. She was 30 years old. They can live up to 40 years in the wild. And she had this massive front horn. It was huge. And it split so that she basically had 3 horns. As you know, the white rhinoceros has 2 horns. She basically had 3. Her front one had split into 2 that went in opposite directions. And she had notches all over her ears. And she was, without doubt, my favourite rhino that I've encountered in the wild. You'll notice I'm referring to her in past tense. And for those of you who are aware of the tragic problem that South Africa and Africa in general faces when it comes to rhino, you'll understand why. But the good news is that poaching for the first time this year in South Africa has gone down. We were going on this exponential rise over the years from about 2008. And for the first time in 2016, it's under control. Not under control, but it's getting to be under control. There's some lovely wood hoopers to show you. I'm just hoping they're going to stay still. Oh dear, they're not. A wood hoopoo is a type of bird, and that's the joy of the... Can you see it there, Eggsy? Right on the end of the tree at the back. Well done. Very well done. There it is. It's in the middle there. There you go. It's hopping about there. Long, thin, probing beak for getting down below the bark. And they are hot. All of the birds are hot at the moment. They're panting. Like Tayla's African hawk eagle, they are also feeling the effects of the extreme temperatures this afternoon and panting to cool down. Now, these birds hop from tree to tree, sliding those long, thin beaks underneath the peeling bark of trees to catch any kind of insect larvae or anything else that they might happen to find there. The end of their bills are equipped with incredibly sensitive nerve endings that they can use to detect motion, even the smallest movement, if their bill is sort of stuck in underneath a piece of bark. And that will immediately attract their attention and help to direct them to where their prey is. This is the green or the red-billed wood hoopoo. And it's definitely worth coming through into these drainage line areas. With their dense vegetation, they come with an assortment of fantastic bird life. And I'm so excited to hear what birds James has encountered while he's been in Kenya. And I'm also excited to see or hear of your bird lists that I'm sure you've started to work on, to include Mara birds as well as your South African birds. For our new viewers, we always encourage our viewers to keep a bird list of the birds that we've managed to get on camera. We decided that calls don't count, unfortunately. We have to have managed to get the bird on camera. You have to be able to see it. And then you can start to collect different bird species. And you could get a list that's over 300. I know quite a few of our viewers have bird lists ranging up to about 250, even more birds. So if you are joining us for the first time, perhaps you're our newest Safari Live addict, please do keep a list of all of the different birds that we get to see, and we will try and show you some as we go along. Okie dokie. Since our wood hoopoo is playing pretty hard to get, let's carry on. Oh, hold on. Are you laughing at me now? I think that's exactly what you're doing. You're having a good chuckle. Here they come. They're all going to come join. Exactly in the most awkward place possible. And I think if I reposition, they're going to disappear. Let's try, though, because this is impossible for poor Eggsy. Oh, you horrible things. Fine. Be like that. I'll just keep going forward. They flew away. And off they go. So I don't really have a plan for this afternoon's drive. I'm going to trundle along here, along the Mulwati drainage, and then probably pop through to Arathusa at some point. Have a look at what's happening there. We did hear the Nkuhumas calling. It's about 2 o'clock this morning. So the Nkuhumas are a pride of lions. So they might be around. I know Herbert is out trying to help Tayla follow up there. And basically, Zonda and myself, or Eggsy as he is now known, are just bumbling around. Here we go. And since it is such a hot day, I feel as though a river cruise is the perfect place for us to be. Nice and cool, plenty of shade. And as we trundle along, I'm happy to say that Tayla has also encountered her favorite animal this afternoon. Let's go and have a look.
I've had a nice big sip of cold icy water to hopefully cool my brain down, and we have stumbled across a herd of sleeping elephants. I don't know if you can see those ellies on the right hand side. You see how their trunks are all relaxed on the ground? Look at that. So these elephants are actually having a siesta. And elephants don't rest very much throughout the day, just for a couple hours every day. And this is what elephants will do. They'll find a bit of shade. There's not much shade around, unfortunately, with the lack of leaves on the trees. So this knobthorn has provided just a little bit of shade. And then they will rest their trunks on the ground and just sort of stand motionless. So they seem to be waking up a little bit now. You can see their ears all starting to fan. Their trunks are all starting to move around again. So they've possibly been here for a little bit and actually just resting. And I'm hoping we're not too far from a big pan. There's just before Buffelshoek Dam, there's actually a little depression that's filled up with water. And I'm hoping they're going to go there because it is sweltering out here this afternoon. You can see how their ears are flapping away. And if you are a new viewer, you're probably wondering, and possibly you've even heard, that if an elephant flaps its ears, it means that it's cross, it's upset with you. Now, yes, that can be the case, but these elephants are actually fanning their ears like that in order to try and cool themselves down. So they have got plenty of veins and blood vessels in their ears, which you can actually see just towards the tips of their ears. And by moving their ears this way, they're creating cool air. There we go. You can see that nicely now. And that will cool the bloodstream down directly, and it will pump it right through their body. So it's sort of like a radiator that you have in a car. It's an amazing herd, though. And this is only just one group of them, everybody. There's another clump like this just behind us that are slightly more active. So I thought that was quite amazing. Look at them. It's so peaceful out here this afternoon. There we go. Wake up, little one. Tell everybody else they're taking a few steps now. And some of the calves were also suckling, taking an opportunity while Mom was standing still to reach in for a quick suckle. You see how the little one is actually being shaded by everybody else. There we go. When one goes, I'm sure another shall follow. Of course, the calf is going to follow Mom. It's quite a young calf as well. It looks to be around 6 months or so old. We'll get a better idea when it starts to wiggle its trunk around. We can see how well it can use it. Lovely. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reverse everybody so we can get, I think, a nice sort of front view of some of these eddies which are eating. So let's just go back just a little bit. Just going to give them enough room that we don't disturb them. Here we go. Hello, elephants. Quite happily munching away. So they've basically pulled apart a bush willow. And we've been chatting about this for quite some time now. How in the winter months they tend to feed on the bark of trees. That's sort of the only vegetation around that's there for them to eat, but there's all the lovely green grass coming through. But it's a bit short still for the elephants to pull with their trunks. Now, the ecological importance of elephants is obviously very important, and a lot of people don't realize this, that as destructive as they are, it's really only in the winter months when they are pushing down the trees, because that's what they can only eat, is they can only eat the bark of trees. They can only push the trees over to get the roots. In the summer months, they tend to feed on grass. And I was reading an interesting article about the elephants of the Greater Kruger National Park. And they... Oh, look at that little one. It's okay. Little one fell over and then proceeded to let out a little scream. And then Mom obviously panicked and made sure, oh, are you okay, darling? But everything's all right. No one else seemed to care too much. I did jump a little bit. So if you were sitting where I am and you heard that loud trumpet, it sort of starts in your toes and then works right through your body and pierces your ears at the same time. So as I was saying before I was interrupted by the elephant, is that the southern elephants of the greater Kruger area will obviously eat lots of grass, and as well as the northern elephants of the greater Kruger area, they eat about 50% of their diet in the summer months consists of grass. And then in the winter months, the southern elephant's diet consists of only about 10% of grass, which makes sense because there isn't very much of it around. But there are also lots of other trees that they can feed on. And then the northern elephants, this study says that they eat still about 40% of their diet consists of the old brown grass, sort of that's the dry grass that's left. And I was quite sort of stumped at this statistic. And then I carried on reading further, which explained it quite nicely. And that's because the further north you go, you get towards the Timbavati, and then north of that, you start to get a lot of mapani trees, which are quite toxic. And unfortunately, these mapani thickets take over entire areas, and it makes it almost impossible for the elephants to feed solely on the mapani trees. So they do have to resort to eating the yellow grass that is unfavored, that sort of doesn't have very much nutrients to it. I found that very interesting. In this area, though, I would still classify these elephants as slightly more southern elephants. They eat a variety of everything. I haven't seen any mapani trees in the sands. And I thought that was quite amazing. And another thing that I was reading, I've been doing a lot of reading over the last couple of days, everybody, and it's been lots of fun. It's always good to keep broadening your knowledge. And something that we don't realize how important elephants are as well is that they are responsible, when we do have grass in the rainy seasons, for turning those big, long, grassy areas into sort of shorter grasslands that things like zebra and buffalo enjoy. And that will attract them to come through after the elephants have shortened the grass. And then the zebra and the buffalo will munch away. And once they've shortened it even further, then you'll start seeing things like wildebeest and impala, which prefer the very short green cropped grass. They come in and eat after that. So I don't like to think of elephants as destructive. I think they're very clever, and they have a balanced diet of pushing trees over and letting them stand in the summer months. Though sometimes, unfortunately, the odd marula tree accidentally gets pushed over, especially if it's a small one and it's bearing fruit. I don't know if you've ever seen footage of an elephant pushing on a tree, especially a marula tree, to try and shake the fruit loose. And now if you have a big elephant bull that weighs 5.5 tons, and he does that to a relatively small tree, he could quite easily snap it unintentionally. So that does happen every now and then. Oh, and I forgot to say Happy World Rhino Day, everybody. I hope you are all seeing lots of photos and watching lots of video clips about our wonderful rhinos. Oh wow, look at this female. She's getting right in there. She's trying to snap a branch. She's even using her foot to try and help her. Oh my goodness, look at her strength. Just moving that branch out of the way. There we go, she got what she wanted. They're just having sort of a high tea at the moment. And obviously after you've had some high tea, you probably need something to wash it down with. The watering hole's not far from here. It's probably only a few hundred meters. And they're edging slowly that way. Ah, we've got some more behavior, everybody. We've got an elephant throwing some sand over itself. Let me reposition again. Just going to poke my nose a little bit further forward. Our sleeping elephants, or our napping elephants, are now starting to wake up quite nicely. Let's see. if the female at the back is still going to carry on throwing sand and dust over herself. Before I tell you why she's doing that, I'm going to wait for her to do it. Oh, hang on. Can you see how this young elephant that's facing us was twisting its trunk around? That was quite funny. Let's see if it does it again. No. There. Come on, do the elephant twist. Oh, there we go. The little one's going to have a dust bath for us. That's nice. Not quite sure what it's doing, though. And it's an older elephant, though. It looks to be almost about 2 years. You can just see how the folds of skin where the tusks would come out are lifting slowly. Can you see that? So maybe if it turns its head, we may see the tusks just protruding through there. While I wait for these elephants to give us a proper dust bath or head to the water, I believe Jamie has also got some more elephants for you.
One random little elephant that came out of nowhere. I have no idea where she came from. She must have been trailing the rest of the herd. But she is having such a ball. And if you ever wanted to see an elephant play, here you go. Oh, this is just the best fun, isn't it, girl? She's been whacking the water with her trunk. I think she's also stirring up the mud so that when she does spray herself, she's got a nice extra layer of mud as well as water. That was a very half-hearted spray. Either way, she is having so much fun. Look at this. Hello, little girl. And hot days on like an afternoon like this afternoon, watching elephants is just the best thing that you can do out here. Whenever they manage to find themselves some water, a nice mud wallow, they play like toddlers play in the bath or children play in the swimming pool. And kick it everywhere and splash all over the show. Endless, endless amusement. I think she's, might be a he. It's difficult to tell when they're this age, and I can't see the back of it. But I think it's, excuse me, I think it's just become slightly separated from the rest of the herd. Distracted perhaps by the attraction of pools of water absolutely everywhere here on Twin Dams. So many different places to wander through and stop and have a fantastic time. There was a wonderful paint advert a couple of years ago. I've spoken about this before, about 2 elephants having a mud wallow or mud bath and spraying a wall that was painted with this particular brand of paint, full of mud. And then the sprinklers came on the next day and soaked it. South Africans, only our South African viewers, I think, will remember it, with a fantastic soundtrack to match. Look at her glistening. It is a little female. She's stopping to have a jolly good sniff. I think she's actually loosening something. Perhaps she's found a root or a bulb that she wants. And I'm really hoping if we sit patiently, it might even decide to go right into the puddle and roll around a little bit. Wonder what she's doing. What is she going to come up with? She's digging for something. While I wait to see what our elephant is after, let's head all the way back across to the Mara Triangle to see something living in water.
Now, for many years, everybody, I've been telling people that crocodiles of two different sizes don't live together. This is patently untrue. There are a number of different sized crocodiles here, so wherever I read that was absolute nonsense. Astounding sighting here of the biggest crocodile there with a piece of wildebeest in his mouth. Isn't this amazing? And then 2 or 3 almost as big ones trying to kind of get a piece of it. And they've been fighting, and he's been kind of tossing it up and down. Now, what's interesting here is that he cannot swallow it. It's too big for him to swallow. It's too whole. That wildebeest probably died today. You can see it's still red. It probably died during the crossing that happened probably about 2 or 3 hours ago. And normally, of course, what crocodiles have to do is let their carcasses rot in the water first. He's a bit reticent to do that because little bits of it will be taken by the smaller crocs here. And there's a very brave hammerkop walking around as well there. Look at him there. Yeah, Bethany, you say, would any of these crocodiles eat the shorebirds? I don't think so, no. I mean, maybe if they really were really hungry. Look at this. Look at this. But no, I mean, we know that a cattle egret are actually able to pick bits and pieces out of crocodiles' mouths while they lie there with their mouths open in the sun trying to lose heat. And for some reason, they don't bite them. They don't try and eat them. Maybe it is the sensation of feathers on the tongue that they don't like. That one behind there has got his own piece. And the one in front is not letting go. I'm going to give you an idea of how big these things are. Those things there are probably about, I'm going to say 4.5 meters. That's, if you multiply it by 3, is roughly 13.5 feet. So almost 15 feet. Those enormous crocodiles. Look how fat the one on the right is. He's so fat he can hardly open his eyes. And a crocodile that size, as I told you yesterday, can go 2 years without a meal. Just amazing stuff. We've also seen a sacred ibis. I'm not sure if the sacred ibis it is. It's still around there. It was also eating a bit of wildebeest. So they're not known for their vulturine characteristics, but that sacred ibis there has had a lovely meal of freshly drowned wildebeest. Then off to the other side, let's just watch and see what happens here. It might be a bit of intestine that one's eating. No, it's a bit of skin, I think. No, that looks like innards. Even that is too much for the crocodile to swallow. They cannot break it up, cannot chew, so they have to have pretty rotten stuff. Look at that. The very big one on the right is now starting to cause trouble. Those are massive, massive dinosaurs we're looking at. They could be more than 100 years old, everyone. We know that we think the oldest living vertebrate around is probably the green shark, and I think they found one the other day of about 400 years old. I think it was 400. Look at these guys. You wouldn't want to get chomped by that, everyone. It would be very unpleasant indeed. Ugh. This is just incredible. Just crawling over his mate. That thing is more than a ton. Oh, Debbie, you say, would these crocs dare to attack a lion like Scarface if he tried to cross the river? Yes, for certain. They're much bigger than him. Much bigger. Scarface would have to be very careful. That smaller one there. Look at this. And this is one of the great stories of the migration. These wildebeest, they don't know how many are going to get across and how many aren't. This is why it's so difficult to predict whether they're going to cross or not. Because so many of them do get taken. Look at that. There's nothing the other one can do except just tolerate that, because if he opens his mouth, the whole thing will fall out. That's the wildebeest head and 4 quarters. That is pretty disgusting, everyone. If you are a sensitive viewer, I'm sorry about this. You'll have to close your eyes, but it really is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And if you're a younger viewer, just remember, this is how wildlife often acts, and that's okay. this is how these animals have evolved to live, and they have to make a living somehow. And I know that if you are a younger viewer thinking, ugh, crocodile, well, I sympathize with you, I must say. I often find it quite difficult to feel sympathy for crocodiles myself, but they have a right to life just like the rest of us. There are one or two wildebeest. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to ask Genre to move the camera. There are a few wildebeest off to the left-hand side thinking about crossing the river, but then very few of them. So I don't think we're going to worry about those. Let's just watch these crocs. Oh, the big fella's going to go and take that one now. But the little one, you see, much faster. If you weigh more than a ton of reptile flesh, you ain't so quick. Except in the water, of course, and when you're making a strike. Look at that. Let me take one or two more pictures, everyone. Then we're going to have to go off to the lions, because we want to be there when they get active. Dina, you want to know if crocodiles kill by drowning their prey or by breaking their necks? Dina, it's a bit of both. They can break the smaller ones' necks and spines and legs, but basically they grab whatever they can and then drag the prey under the water. So it is probably largely drowning that occurs. Alright everyone, we're going to have to move on from here. So let's move on from here. We're going to head across to Tayla and the Sabi Sands elephants, those wonderfully confiding pachyderms, and we'll see you next, probably, with the Kichwa Pride.
Well, look at that elephant there. Did you see how she lifted her trunk in order to try and pick up on some sense? Now she's going the wrong way. Come back. Go further east. Go to the water. They are all following in this one female's sort of direction, which is not great for us. No. I wonder if she possibly isn't the matriarch, because the entire herd has now started moving. It's actually quite miraculous. It's really beautiful to watch. Elephants too, and they haven't been moving much until a few moments ago. I'm just going to watch them carefully. They're surrounding us, but they are very relaxed. Hello, beautifuls. All the big girls. Off they go. I wonder where they're going. I wonder where there is some more water. They know the bush better than any of us, though. So that's what these elephants do, is they follow old migratory paths that are sort of passed down from matriarch to the daughters, and that information is then passed on generation through to generation. So they probably do know where there is a lot of water that we don't know, but they're completely about to cross out to Buffel's Hook now. Let me reposition again. Turn my bum this way, I think. I thought we were going to get them doing a wonderful swimming lesson. Hey, you can get lots of bum shots, everybody. Look at all those. Group bum shot. And at one point, when we were watching them, they were all flapping their ears, and it was like they were all in sync, opening and closing at exactly the same time. And off they go. Bye, elephants. We're going to miss you. And we've still got a group there that has decided that they're going to stay. They're not quite finished just yet. And this is also very typical to see one group of elephant in a herd sort of hang back a little bit longer than the rest. And we often call these satellite parties. And this is what can be quite dangerous as well as when you are walking in the bush, is because you see a big group of elephants and then they pass you and you think, okay, they're finished, there's no more coming. But now there's about 100 meters between these two groups of elephants, and if you come between this group and the group that's leading ahead, you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble. So it's always important just to wait a few more moments when you are walking and just take the time to look and double check again, because now we've got a big gap between mom and all the little calves. Now imagine if you were to come between her and all of her calves. That's when you've got to be careful. Though in the vehicles, though, they're very much relaxed with us. I think if I was sitting there, she probably wouldn't have minded at all. That little one was giving us the evil eye, though, just making sure we stayed where we were. And this was also that same little one that fell over and trumpeted earlier. And then there's one at the back that's not quite finished eating. You can see he's brought his food with him. There he is. No, he's left it. He just dropped his branch. He's still got a few twigs in his mouth. Someone's crying for milk in the distance. Oh, picking up the pace slightly. This one doesn't want to get left behind. Oh, they found some water. Can you? Let's go park on the cut line itself. Maybe we get a view. I just thought I heard a little bit of splashing, everybody. Oh, they are. They're throwing mud on themselves. We're going to have to find a nice little gap here. And luckily, David's camera's got amazing zoom on it. So I'm sure we will be able to see it. We're going to just get bums, though. But that's all right. They've got cute bums. Just sort of see them through there. Just waiting for the Ellies to move over a little bit. Here we go. You can start to see the glistening on the elephants ahead from that mud as it coats their skin. Here we go. It almost looks like silver. And they're probably having the time of their lives. I'm envious. Beautiful. So everyone, we are live, in case you've forgotten or you've just stumbled across our show. So welcome. And if you'd like to interact with myself or James or Jamie, who are on the other vehicles, you're welcome to #SafariLive on Twitter with all your questions. Or if you don't have Twitter, you can email us. And that address is questions@wildearth.tv. And I look forward to hearing from you. At the moment, we are watching some elephants, mud bath. Jamie also had an elephant earlier, and I think James is going to look for some lions in the Mare, which is in Kenya, in case you were wondering what on earth I was talking about. Now, I'm not sure if there's an actual watering hole close by to where these elephants are now that they've crossed off of our traverse, but they're not going to be drinking from that water, everybody. Oh, we've got a very cheeky elephant. These elephants are cooling themselves down quite nicely now, and hopefully they'll come back across and drink from one of the fuller watering holes. It's nice and clean. So I think let's go back to Kenya, everybody. I think James has got some of the creatures that are migrating at this time of the year.
Well, we're just sort of on our way to the lions, everybody, and then we stopped here, and these wildebeest looked like they were going to cross, and now they don't. But look how many there are. It's still a wonderful sight, even if they aren't going to come leaping down to the water's edge. And one of the reasons they aren't going to come leaping down to the water's edge we'll show you just now, but let's just watch that amazing herd walking off. They're moving, you know, they go running into the bush, and they sometimes turn around and come herring back again. So let's sit here for a little while and see. I think it'll be worth us just waiting here for a little while to see what's going to happen. They've stopped at the top. I can see two or three of them stopped. Sometimes they turn around and come back. Yeah, one or two of them have turned. They're very unpredictable fellows, these. One more coming down, and that's one of the reasons they're very reticent to come. That's a particularly stupid crocodile. He can't understand why his meal isn't walking straight into his jaws. He has not realized that he needs to hide underneath the water if he wants the wildebeest to cross. Chandra off to the left, and he especially doesn't want to open his mouth like that, because that's just really telling them a story they don't want to know.
What's on the left, James?
Just on the left there, in that gap in the bushes there, you can see them turning around and coming back this way. They're coming sort of streaming back now. There we are. So we might be lucky. Oh, here we go. Now Graham Wallington and Peter Braat in their imminent statistical wisdom have come up with a term called the mean wildebeest, which to those of you who are not statistically minded means the sort of average movement of the wildebeest. And in this case, the mean wildebeest is now moving back towards the water. You see, they're deeply indecisive creatures. This is why no one knows if and when they're ever going to cross. I'm having a bit of a giggle because I've just turned to the left where there is an enormous truck parked, and out of it is probably about $7 million worth of lens equipment pointing at these wildebeest, hoping desperately that they're going to cross. They make this lens I'm carrying here look like a small pea shooter. Isn't this beautiful? Even if they don't cross, what a story. This is what happens day in and day out here. These wildebeest think about crossing, then they think about not crossing, then they think about crossing again, and then they think about not crossing again. All the while, the gormless crocodile sits there with his mouth open as if to say, "Come, why aren't you climbing into my mouth? I'm hungry." And the three-banded plover walks past the front of him thinking, "What an absolute twit." That isn't a three-banded plover at all. It might be a bird we haven't seen before. Let me address it with my binoculars. The skies are turning grey, everyone, which bodes well for lion hunting. Doesn't bode well for Chandre's pneumonia. But you know, Chandre's a tough fellow. I think that's a sandpipe, everyone, not a three-banded plover that was there. There, they're moving off to the left now, Chandri, way off to the left there. They're on the run. Oh, wonderful to see them run. Shamsan, you want to know if crocodiles have a family structure? No, not really. The females sometimes live in smallish groups, but no, it's not very kind of definite, and they're quite territorial about their little patch of river, especially if the females have laid eggs there. We're going to give these chaps 2 more minutes, and if they keep going that direction, there's a bull you can see there. That's the bird, everyone. Ah, very nice, Chandra. They've got 2 minutes to turn around. Aaron, you want to know what the chances of seeing a glossy ibis in the Mara are? Apparently not too bad. I haven't seen one here yet, but we might be lucky while we're here. One wildebeest here, the mean wildebeest now turning back around. The last wildebeest, that's the outlier wildebeest, that's called Malcolm Gladwell, and the others through the gap there thinking about coming back. So Aaron, I'm just checking the map here. Yes, the glossy ibis does occur here, I am correct, but I haven't seen one since we've been here. We're going to have to make a move towards those lions, I think, otherwise we're going to miss them. But let's just spend another 2 minutes or so here, and while we do that, I just have to ask Chandra to show you this unbelievable sight there of a glorious scene and a giraffe tipple kerchie crossing over the plains, and a rainbow. A very faint one. In fact, I'm hallucinating. There isn't one. Shamsan, you want to know if it's good to be in the middle, the back, or the front of a herd of crossing wildebeest? I'd say it's by far best to be in the middle of a herd of crossing wildebeest, otherwise you're likely to get noshed. No one wants to be noshed by a crocodile, Shamsan. Horrid way to go, I'm told. Chandra, are you getting a very beautiful shot there? Or you're just getting a back cramp? Let me get out of your way. Alright everyone, we're going to leave these chaps, I think. Except... Alright, let's go to Jamie. She's got some more elephants. The rain seems to be coming in soon, so let's get to those lions and find out what they're going to be doing.
And what a joy it is to see scenes just like this one. I know James was talking about the possibility of rains arriving there all the way in Kenya, but to watch the elephants drinking out of fresh puddle water is such an absolute pleasure. And, of course, one of my favorite things to watch is the little baby elephant attempting to use its trunk. Ah, now you've turned your back on us, little one. Earlier on, Xander and myself were just sitting watching them, and this little baby elephant hasn't quite mastered the whole art of getting water up into its trunk and then into its mouth, and was getting very cross. Whoopsie. There you go. That's a little bit better. It was getting so cross that eventually it just decided that it wasn't having any success and put its whole face in the water, mouth and all, just straight in, which is something you very commonly see with elephant calves who haven't quite got this whole trunk deal figured out. They know that they've got this long flappy thing on the end of their faces, and they know that they're meant to use it to put water in their mouths. And at a couple of, I'd say, close to a year old, this little baby elephant is well on the way to mastering it, but hasn't quite got it just right. They're like a toddler learning to use its hands, to write or to grasp things. Little baby elephants have to learn to use their trunks as well. And sometimes it doesn't always go exactly according to plan. It's also been picking up plant scraps that have been dropped in the water by other elephants. Oh, and sometimes they're not all that nice, are they, little one? Come on, little Eddie, give us another demonstration of your amazing diving skills. And Casa, who is a new viewer, wonderful to hear your question and to hear a new name on our live safaris. You wanted to know how elephants communicate. One of the big ways that they communicate with each other is through their body language. It's kind of like sign language, but for elephants. And most importantly, it's all about ears, tail, trunk, and then just body posture in general. They can also produce a wide range of vocal sounds, from deep, deep, low-frequency rumbles that not even we can hear as human beings, to the other rumbles that we can just hear, and they go brrrr, and you can hear it vibrating in your chest. They can trumpet, they can scream, and they really can scream. Some of the sound effects from the movie Jurassic Park were taken from elephants and the noises that elephants make, because it sounds like such a prehistoric sound. So all in all, they've actually got a wide range of communicating with each other. Like this little one, the complexity of the social structure around it, and how much learning that it has to do. Elephants are among some of the most complicated animals on the planet. They are unbelievably intelligent. They're parts of their brains devoted to emotional development, as well as to their proprioception, have nerve pathways that only the great apes and human beings have, which is extraordinary when you think of it. So they have highly, highly complex emotional structures and emotional dynamics in between members of the herd. And it's fascinating to watch. And there are nuances to their body language that we as human beings are only just starting to understand. If I had to guess, and it's just a guess, please don't quote me on this in anything official or scientific, but if I had to guess, I would say we understand maybe 20% of elephant behavior and what they're saying to each other and how they're communicating with each other. If it's a female calf, I haven't had a chance to actually see whether it's a female calf or a male calf, she will spend her life in this herd for up to 40, even up to 60 years with her mother, her sisters, older sisters and younger, cousins, aunts. An elephant herd is a very complex structure, and the bonds between elephants are incredibly, incredibly strong. Is this such fun, little one? You know what you should do? You should go for a swim. Go for a swim. I promise you it'll cool you down, and I wish I could. Definitely not going to go for a swim right now. There's a whole elephant herd surrounding the pan, but I do think it would be a wonderful experience. There you go. See, it's not that hard. Mastering your trunk. Now, elephants can swim. They can actually use their trunks like snorkels, and in certain areas like Botswana, they do have to swim on a regular basis to move from island to island to find food. Out here, we don't see them. Oh, it's a little boy. It's a little boy elephant. Out here, we don't see them swim as often, but we do occasionally get those amazing sightings where they're right in one of the water holes. And Afra, it's wonderful to have you on board. What a fantastic thing to hear as many new names as we are hearing. Afra, my name is Jamie. The gentleman directing the camera's name is Zander, but we call him Eggsy. Nobody's entirely sure why, except for James. And we're coming to you live from the middle of the African bush. On our vehicle, Tayla and myself are driving around a place called Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Sabi Sand, right up in the top northeastern corner of South Africa. And we've got about a 4 million hectare wilderness area stretching all around us, including the world-famous Kruger National Park. James is broadcasting from the Mara in Kenya. So that should give you a little bit of an idea of where we are and what we're doing. Oh, look, the little baby's getting brave. Wandering right into the middle of the water hole. Now, it is fantastic for our new viewers to see this much water because South Africa has been in the grips of a terrible drought, which is why we are all, along with our regular viewers, rejoicing the fact that we get to enjoy scenes like this one. It feels so long ago that we last got to see elephants wading in this much water. Isn't it special? Now, for all of our new viewers, because it is live, it does mean that it is interactive, which means that you can send through your questions, and you can do that on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can email through if you're feeling a little bit shy. You can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And please don't be shy, don't be ashamed of any questions you might have, don't feel like they're too basic. There's no, that's a lie. Let me rephrase that. There are such things as stupid questions, but they're very few and far between. And I have not been asked a stupid question while I've been working with Safari Live. I have to tell you, for our new viewers, I've expressed this view before. Personally, I think this is one of the most incredible uses that technology has ever been put to. How incredible is this? That we're sitting in the Sabi Sand right now, and this is happening right in front of us, and you can be watching from wherever you are in the world. So tell your friends, tell your family, get all kinds of new addicts on board with Safari Live. There's so much we have to show you that watching just one portion of it just won't do. There's a really good question. It's something I've often wondered about when it comes to elephants. And Nanika, you want to know if elephants feel like we do when we get water up our noses. Do they feel that way when they use their trunks? The only way I can answer that is to say no, I don't think so. Because their noses are adapted, their trunks are adapted to drink water in that way. So that's what they spend their whole lives doing, is sucking up water through their trunks and then transferring it into their mouths like some kind of giant weird straw. But because that's what they do with their trunks and they do it their whole lives, I can't imagine that each and every time an elephant drinks it is as uncomfortable for them as it is for us when we get something up our nose, because it's a horrible feeling and it hurts and it's not comfortable. I don't think it feels that way for elephants at all. Their trunks are such amazing things. Let's see if we can reposition, because they have moved. And for now, whilst it is a lovely shot of that elephant's bottom, I do think we can do better. So bear with me one moment. I'm not going too far. Just going to go around here. I want to talk a little bit about the amazing thing that is an elephant's trunk. There we go. So we've got our elephants enjoying a late afternoon snack from the safety and coolness of the water. Now, an elephant's trunk, apart from being incredibly useful for drinking, is an amazing, amazing thing. Between 50 and 100,000 muscles in that elephant's trunk, no bones of any description, just muscle, and all in sort of vertical, horizontal cross bands, allowing it to move in all sorts of directions and to do all kinds of amazing things, from pull down a massive tree branch, so they have that kind of strength in their trunks, and then to do something as delicate as picking up the tiniest stick off the ground. The trunk can stretch and pull back in a kind of concertina-like action. They can go right down to their feet and then contract up a little bit. So it really truly is a marvel of evolution. And they use their trunk for all kinds of different things, mostly for feeding, because of course an elephant pretty much has to feed all day and all night to sustain their massive bulk. What have you got there? This one's managed to grab something, but it's proving to be relatively difficult to maneuver. There we go. Are you having any success there, elephant? This is such a perfect spot to stop. Look at our little elephant. Another new viewer, Martin. Fantastic and a very warm welcome to you here from the middle of the African bush. You want to know how many elephants there are in this herd, and there are more of them, but I think that they might be separate from the rest of this group. So there's 5 in front of you, and then if we look a little bit to the right, on the other side of the waterhole, you'll see there's another elephant hiding at the back there. Big dark shape. It's amazing how for a massive animal they can disappear behind the trees. So an elephant herd can range from anything. We've got a very special elephant herd, a female that we call Stumpy, or Stumpy Trunk, or Half Trunk Ellie, who is missing about 1/3 of her trunk. She's got an elephant herd that is, there's only 4 members. Herself, a young female, a young male calf, and then her tiny young female calf. So they can range from just a couple of members of a herd right up until 20, 30. Sometimes we find ourselves surrounded by 70 elephants at one go. So a herd differs in size out here, and often because they're not a territorial animal. They don't get grumpy with other family groups. In fact, they probably know all of the other individuals in other family groups in other elephant herds. And they'll often join together, spend a little bit of time. If you watch, the calves will play with each other. They'll run up and greet their friends. Just like human families, when they get to meet up and greet another human family. They really are very special creatures. This is a massive female munching away on the stick. She's absolutely enormous. An elephant, of course, will grow throughout their lives, although their growth does slow down once they reach adulthood and sexual maturity. But they will continue to grow throughout their lives. There are some massive individuals. It's difficult for you to get a sense of scale sitting on the other side of the camera. What we do occasionally do is, if we have the opportunity, is we try and give you a sense of scale by going and standing where an elephant has stood, just to give you an idea of just how enormous they truly are. And I have to tell you, they're one of my favorite animals to spend time with. And Nico, you wanted to know whether or not there is, once a male elephant has left his herd and goes off to join an older bull, is there an initiation ceremony or something of the sort? This baby elephant is so thoroughly entertaining. Whoopsie. Slightly messy drinker, aren't you? Nico, not that I know of. So young elephants, when they reach sexual maturity and they do leave the safety and sanctity of their breeding herd, they do often get quite lonely, and they'll often form groups with other young males and occasionally with an older male. But as far as I know, there's no initiation ceremony, there's no tasks they have to do or anything like that. They don't have to worry too much about that. But that being said, they do learn a great deal from the older bulls. And there's a famous story on World Rhino Day, although it was quite a sad one, of the young elephant bulls that were released into a reserve, not here, but a little bit further to the southwest of where we are now. And these young elephant bulls were released onto this reserve, but there were no big elephants to tell them what to do or to teach them how to behave. And as a result, they started getting very violent, and in a couple of cases killed some rhino, and other animals, which is very, very weird elephant behavior. And as soon as the reserve introduced a big male elephant or a couple of big male elephants onto the reserve, that behavior immediately stopped, as though the older elephants were teaching the younger bulls what to do and how to behave like gentlemen. So how amazing is that? It's basically like a teenage boy growing up, or a teenage girl, either way, growing up without guidance and then being provided with a proper fatherly figure. They are demolishing what I think was a gardenia growing on the other side of this dam, or this waterhole, I think. I don't think we'd call it a dam. I'm going to stick around with these elephants for a little bit longer in the hope that perhaps one of them decides to go for a swim and to be entertained by this little elephant. In the meantime, Tayla has found something slightly smaller with hooves.
I have found the easiest animal to locate in the African bush, the impala. And we actually had quite a big herd surrounding us, but they seem to be moving in a southerly direction now this afternoon. Perhaps, I don't know where they're off to. But let me try and find a better view. I'm going to go forward just slightly, just because this one is, oh, maybe he's going to pop his head up. Are you going to put your head up for us, or are you going to disappear like the rest of the gang? Well, this is a lovely male that you can see. He's the only one that wants to be seen this afternoon out of the 50 that are surrounding us. Well, they're not surrounding us. They've now disappeared. And it is deathly quiet again out here. There's not even a bird chirping at the moment. And the reason why we're driving in this area is we're actually looking for some lions. Now, last night I heard what sounded like to be the entire pride of lions calling at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And it seems as though they've moved off and out of the northern section of the reserve. They were on a buffalo kill, and they've obviously devoured it. Maybe it wasn't a very big buffalo, but now we're trying to find them. And I think that they've sneakily snuck onto our property, and we just haven't found them yet. It has been very hot, as myself and Jamie have been telling you all afternoon. So maybe a drainage line would be a good spot to sleep, and they are inaccessible for us unless you were to actually drive down in all of them. We don't want to do that all the time. So hopefully they come out and show themselves a little bit later. We're going to keep checking all the watering holes and puddles on the road and hope that we can find a fresh sign of them. So impala are actually quite prehistoric creatures too. Now, it sounds quite bizarre, but their whole design has not changed for the last 6.5 million years. Can you believe that? Since the Miocene period. It makes them one of the oldest species of antelope. Now, most of the other antelope have sort of evolved in some way. Now, a special adaptation that further differentiates them from any other antelope is that you see their back legs. Can you see there's 2 black patches on their hind legs? Maybe when this one comes out. It's a bit hard to see. Come out, almost. Just hiding his back leg. There we go. Can you see those black patches, everybody? Now, those patches are called metatarsal glands, and they are completely unique to impala. There is no other antelope in Africa that has these little pockets of a black fluff. And essentially what they are is they are scent glands. And the theory behind it, obviously it's quite hard for us to try and prove this, but so far the scientists think that the reasoning for those metatarsal glands is that when they are running away, now impala are very good jumpers and they normally sprint and do big leaps, and when they jump and they kick backwards, those scent glands are then activated and a puff of a pheromone sprays into the air, and they believe that when they are being chased, they're leaving these scents behind them so that they are able to regroup if they have all spread out quite a bit. So just to be able to find each other again. Like I said, it's just a theory, but I think it's a pretty good one. I couldn't think of what else it would do. Quite amazing how the impala have got this adaptation. And like I said, they're very common. You see them all over Africa. We've got quite a few in this greater Kruger area. So on about 8.5 million acres of land, there were probably around 115,000 impala. But I suppose maybe some of the numbers have dropped now with the drought that we've been experiencing the last few, sort of 2 seasons. So maybe their populations are down to about 100,000. But there's quite a few males in here. So this is a nice big bachelor herd. And they've just finished the real rat a few months ago. So you can see all these males are looking nice and strong and fit. And sort of towards November, we will start hearing them all gargling and making strange noises again, because we come into the false rut just before the females give birth again. So now they're quite relaxed. They're not too bothered by each other. But as soon as this false rut comes through, then they're all going to become quite territorial again, fighting for the best areas and the biggest herds of females. And I was reading yesterday evening, and I found this quite astonishing, that one male impala during either the false rut or the true rut can hold a territory of up to about 16 acres of land. And I thought that was quite amazing. That's a big piece of land for such a small antelope. And it also makes sense as to why these impala don't spend too much time in the herds with the females, is that if he's got that big piece of land to patrol and to sort of see all the females, that's exhausting. I don't think I would last a week, possibly even a few days. And I think let's reposition again. They're quite interesting, these impala, this afternoon. And there's also lots of green grass that's popped through the ground over here, so they've got their heads down making the most of it. And also just checking very carefully, you'll see me scanning around, just making sure that those lions haven't popped up anywhere. It's cooling down quite nicely already. The temperature seems to have dropped a few degrees Fahrenheit. The wind is cooling down quite nicely as well. You see that little fork-tailed drongo swoop in and catches a little insect of some sort. Now those birds, I don't know if we're going to see him again. He's now landed in a marula tree, but it's quite hard to see him behind all the branches. He was somewhere in there. But I think we're going to see him again, because he keeps dive bombing in between all these impala. And drongos are normally associated around mammals. And it's just as the mammals, in this case the impala, are moving through all the leaf litter. They are disturbing grasshoppers, they're disturbing butterflies. And it's a very, very easy snack for those drongos. Now when this impala turns around, you can see it's got 3 black stripes on its bum, on its rump, and they almost look like they're sort of indentations, I suppose. And Cringe Boy has actually spotted this and was wondering, what are they? Now Cringe Boy, they are actually markings, black stripes. So it's just hair that's a different color to the rest of their body. And those are follow me signs. Now, a lot of the viewers who have been watching the show for a long time and obviously know quite a bit about follow me signs. But we've got lots and lots of new viewers watching this afternoon. So we do have to repeat ourselves occasionally. So, Cringe Boy, what happens is that when those impala are darting off and dispersing, maybe they're being chased by a predator, maybe they just got a fright, it is easy for them to see those black markings against their hair and try and follow those. Now, all the different animals have got some kind of a follow me sign, whether it's 3 black stripes on your bum, or black hair on your tail, black hair behind your ears, or even bright white hair, which you'll expose. For instance, like their nyala that we saw earlier today, they'll lift their tails and show that flash of white hair coming through. But these boys are really looking in fantastic condition. Absolutely lovely. Good afternoon, Kurd Damer, and welcome. I wanted to give you a warm welcoming from all of us here at Safari Live, and I hope you're enjoying the show this far, and I hope you continue watching. And Kurd Damer wants to know, do impala defend themselves as a group or perhaps individually? Now, it depends on the time of the year. And if you're talking about a predator or if you're talking about males defending their females from other males. So let's start with predators. Now, I don't know if you noticed how, or hopefully we'll see some females, but the female impala don't have any horns. So what happens is, say something like a jackal, which is a smaller carnivore, comes around and starts harassing a herd of impala. You might find that the male, who is armed with these weapons, will step in and try and chase that jackal away. Now, if it's something big like a lion, everybody's going to absolutely run for their lives. It is very difficult for an impala to try and defend itself from a lion, I'm afraid, even with those beautiful big horns. And now, if it's in the rutting season, like we've just been chatting about, so when the males are fighting each other in order to get the best herds of females to try and mate with, then, well, the females really don't mind at all. They carry on doing their own thing and they let the boys challenge each other. And they will fight each other to quite an extent. It's quite a loud sound when those horns clash together. So depending on what size the predator is, they may, if it's really small, may try and chase it off. However, otherwise, they are really good sprinters and they are super athletic as well. Like I was saying, they are also known as the long-distance jumping champions in the bush because at a full sprint, they can leap lengths of up to 10 meters, which is quite spectacular. And those of you who have ever seen impala dashing off and doing big leaps, you know how phenomenal it is. And it's often a photo that people want to try and get. So now you all have the advantage because this is live, and I'm sure if we had a beautiful herd of impala sprinting, or if you were quick enough, you could maybe pause it and take a screen grab, which is quite impressive. Those of us who are using big cameras out in the bush, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Jim, before I answer your question, can you see the little steenbok that has just popped up in the frame there? Do you see? Okay, it's half a steenbok now. So that's quite amazing. Well spotted, David. David's got eagle eyes this afternoon. That's incredible. So that's not a baby impala, everybody. That is a little steenbok. And I don't know if it's noticed us because we haven't turned the vehicle on at all. Normally we don't see them very well. They spot us and then they dart away. So let me see if I can get a little bit of a better positioning for this little steenbok. Right. Hang on, everybody. I'm just trying to see where the steenbok... There it is. Okay, I've got the steenbok. Now we just need to find a tiny little gap so that all of you can see. And it's a slight distance away from us, so possibly it won't be too startled by us. I think we can get it through that little gap. More? A little bit more. There we go. Perfect. Oh, there's a few branches in the way, but look at that little steenbok over there. Maybe it's going to pop out again. So we were talking about the metatarsal glands on the impala, just to recap, the little black patches of hair that you occasionally see. And Jen B wants to know, because they are releasing a pheromone, can't the predators pick up on that pheromone and follow it? Now, Jen B, I'm unsure, but I can only think that that pheromone is possibly unique to the impala, and I don't know if the predators would be able to pick it up at all, but my opinion, I don't think so. I think it's something unique. Out of all the different thousands of species of antelope that we have, the impala is the only one that has it, so I would presume that that something else wouldn't be able to pick it up or identify it. And there's a little male steenbok too. Very relaxed with us. It's lovely. We've actually been very lucky lately. We had a lovely sighting of a male steenbok about 2 afternoons on our first safari marathon. We actually spotted one quite close to the road. He's just munching, also picking up on those new green shoots that are coming through the grass. And it's amazing how the tables have turned now, because in the winter months you see all the grazers, so all the antelope and the different herbivores that just eat grass, they all start to eat leaves at this time of the year, from the round leaf teak to the acacias, anything you can think of. And now all the browsers have also changed their minds and are taking advantage of all the lovely new green grass that's coming through. So it's good. It's quite nice. Oh, we have a lilac-breasted roller. Hello. Yes, land right next to us. No, don't go too far. Ah, perfect. Look at this lilac-breasted roller that's just popped down in front of us. This has to be one of the most beautiful birds in the African bush. And I think also taking advantage, since these impala have moved through and disturbed quite a variety of insects. We've been seeing lots of butterflies, lots of flies, lots of crickets. And the rollers, like the drongos, are also acrobats in the sky. They fly very delicately. I need to just very quickly listen to the game drive radio. It's very busy, so I wonder if they haven't found anything. No. Doesn't sound like they've found anything. I think everybody's just trying to work out where we are going to check in order to find these lions. Are you just perched there? It would be nice if this roller did another little dive to the ground and successfully caught an insect. Just scanning, looking. Where are you going? They fly so quickly. And just realigning. No, just gone all the way to the left. Yeah, if you zoom in there. No, in the tree at the back. Yeah, if you go straight back, there we go. You should be able to see the blue now. There it is. Not with anything to eat just yet. Now this rollers is quite a special bird because it's one of the prettiest birds, and we see them all year round as well. So they're residents. They don't migrate at all. Unlike the cousins, the purple roller and the broad-billed roller, we only see them coming into our summer months, and during the winter we hardly see them. And you'll hear me go quiet every now and then, everybody. It's not because I've run out of things to say. I can talk and bore you all. But sometimes it's really nice to just stop and listen to what's going on. And our friend the roller has disappeared out of view now. And so have the impala. You can just see them scattered out in the distance. Let's possibly carry on a little bit further down this road. It seems to be quite busy this afternoon, which is nice. Actually, you can maybe get a very nice shot now of the steenbok. For those of you who haven't seen the steenbok yet, this is the smallest antelope species that we see in this area. There we go. There's a nice screenshot for everybody. Snap away and remember to hashtag Safari Live of all your screenshots. We all look forward to seeing them at the end of the show. Yes, you're finding nice little green shoots. Well, while we watch this male steenbok feed and go about his day, I think Amy, I've just given a name to another presenter. I think Jamie has still got the largest African mammal.
I just couldn't tear myself away, to be completely honest with you. It's just been such a pleasure and a peaceful scene sitting with these amazing animals, just enjoying the pleasure of their company and watching this little one. Earlier on, he chased a turtle dove. He went racing after this thing and then looked so proud of himself when he chased it away. Like he'd done such an amazing job. The turtle dove is a dove. I mean, it's a bird. But the little elephant was so very chuffed with himself, then realized that Mom was actually quite far away and had to go dashing back to find her again. Truly adorable scenes. Now, you know how toddlers have to have whatever you're eating? Even if they've got their own food. This little one's kind of like that as well with Mom. Mom's decided she's going to come and feed off this bush, and the little one's decided, okay, well then I have to eat here, exactly here, as well, with Mom. Although it's proving to be a rather tricky experience. So she's just walked right past our vehicle, skimming behind us with just a couple of feet to spare between the elephant and our back bumper. Totally relaxed the whole time. And then she stopped and let the little one suckle a couple of meters away from our vehicle. And I always feel so privileged when they do that. I know it's probably a little bit anthropomorphic and maybe a little bit ridiculous, but I always feel as though there's such trust shown when they do that. When they just stop right next to you with their eyes half closed and let their babies feed. When they're at their most vulnerable. I always feel very, very privileged to experience that. Little boy has had a fantastic afternoon, swimming in the dam, playing in the mud, chasing pigeons, chasing terrapins. It's been a fantastic day for this little elephant bull. Although eating dinner is not quite so easy. What a beautiful afternoon. There's so many exciting things going on that we barely know where to look. Let's head back over to the Mara and have a look at James's big cats.
Welcome back to the Mara Triangle, everybody. We're sitting here in the lee of the Ulololo escarpment. 3 lions of the Kichwatembo pride, 1 young male and 2 females over there. And it is just magnificent. Over in the distance, off to the left-hand side, you can see the rain starting to fall, pouring down in the southern part of the Mara Triangle. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely stunning. And as Jean-Andre plans along the top of the Ulololo escarpment, you'll see the magnificent place that we're staying. Ngama Mara, the latest addition to the lodges of this area, and quite possibly the most magnificent lodge I've ever seen on all of this great continent. So it's a great privilege to be staying there. If you're ever thinking about coming here, that's the place to be, Ngama Mara. Now, we've arrived at the lions recently, and we're sitting here hoping that they are going to go hunting tonight. We think that they are going to be hunting, and I'm sorry about the bits of wind that are going on. John Ray, you need to look behind us. There's a lioness on the stalk right now. So sorry about the wind, everybody. There is a storm blowing in, a gorgeous storm. It's a real blessing to have any kind of rain here in the African wilderness. I don't know what this lioness is stalking. I can't see. There's a Thompson's gazelle, seemingly unaware, way away, probably about, I don't know, maybe 400 meters off the mile. Male Thompson's gazelle, can you see it there? It's way in the just about to cross the road in front of us there. Now you're watching a live broadcast from the Mara Triangle. It's an astounding joy to be here, and the plains of this place are just so productive. An incredible number of species. Elephants, as you may have just seen the elephants. We've seen the Thompson's gazelle. We've seen lions. We've seen thousands of wildebeest and zebra and topi and Maasai giraffe and warthogs and buffalo and endless other species. It really has been the most fantastic time here. Let's watch this lioness goes on the hunt. I'm going to sneak down into the car. There are more than one Thompson's gazelle there, and we're going to see if we can't get a little bit closer. We're going to drive behind her and do our best not to disturb the hunt. And move just behind her. Look at the elephants. Isn't that wonderful? Just a little bit difficult for Jean-Andre to keep on her while we're moving. And you can ask us questions in the comments section. Hello, Francie. You wonder if this lion is bigger and sleeker than the lionesses of the Sabi Sand in South Africa, where we also broadcast from. Francie, no. The lionesses are not sleeker and larger. They're actually pretty much the same size, I reckon. It's just because they're in the open, I think, that they look perhaps slightly different. This lioness is the perfect colour. Look at her. She's just got down, hunkering down. Her shoulders crouched, waiting to spring. Now, she's a long way from them, and in South Africa, I would say that there was no chance she was going to have a run from here. But you know what? The lionesses of this area that we've watched, and we've watched 3 hunts now, they run. They're sprinters. They're not quite as good at sprinting as cheetah, but because of the lack of bushes here, they have to run. Now, what she's got between her and those Thompson's gazelles, which are looking this way, by the way, is a little termite mound. And that little termite mound is all that stops them seeing her. But the wind is perfect. The wind is blowing straight towards us. And what that means is that they cannot smell the lion. She's using the wind to her advantage. That clanking was me pulling the roof over the top because it has started to rain now. Hello, Dee. You say you love these drives so much since you found them. Well, I suggest very strongly that you save all your shekels and book a place at Ngama Mara. You can come and sit in these plains and watch the unbelievable sightings that we're looking at right now firsthand, because I promise you this is a spiritual experience being in this place. It's an ancient land with just the most amazing sort of the most amazing interactions that have been going on here for millennia and millennia. Now, Amy Stewart, you're wondering how many lions there are normally in a pride. Amy, it really does vary quite a lot. But over here, this pride has got 4 lionesses, 2 young males, apparently another 2 lionesses. We've seen one of them. She's actually just killed a zebra, believe it or not. That's been reported to us by one of the Ngama Mara staff. He's just watched her take down a zebra while we were waiting for the wildebeest to cross the river. Look at them. They're infinitely patient, these cats. And I'm just checking behind us to see if the others aren't coming up. They're not. And lionesses will often kill on their own, you know. And it's been shown, especially in East Africa, where we are obviously now sitting now in Kenya, it's been shown that lionesses hunting on their own often, excuse the sound everyone, the microphone is just attaching itself quietly. There we are. There we are. Isn't that beautiful? She's moving now slowly. Look how perfectly coloured she is. She's a perfect colour. And look how carefully she places her feet. Even though the wind is blowing and those Thompson's gazelles don't have a chance of hearing her, she's still very careful. Watch how carefully she places that foot. And getting as low down as possible, infinitely patient. This is amazing. And to watch it at this time of the day. We're going to follow these lines into the night, everybody. And this is live, just in case you were wondering if you happen to be watching some kind of recorded show. You are watching a completely live lion hunt from the Mara Triangle. I'm going to take this opportunity to move very slightly forward. Hello Ramzo, you're in Germany. How very good to hear from you, all the way from Germany. You say it's great to be on safari with us. Well, Ramzo, it's great to have you on safari with us. And I hope that you will one day be able to come through here and experience this place for yourself. I have been gobsmacked, alternately amazed, awe-inspired, and just astounded at the amazing sights, the scenery, the animals, the life, the diversity, the fertility of this landscape is utterly beyond speech. Which is why I've run out of so many superlatives to use. Only so many superlatives one can use, you know. That was me taking a picture, that click. I'm the world's worst wildlife photographer, so it's unlikely you'll see that picture ever. And as I said, we are going to follow these lions into the night. Despite the rain and despite the wind, we watched them kill last night, you know. It was the most amazing experience. As the darkness fell, they started to move, and they stalked off through the clearings. They were chased by, eventually, 40 hyenas, and eventually they killed a little baby zebra. They devoured it, and then they had a wonderful night off. They came back to the same place where we found them yesterday evening at the same time, and they seem to be about to do it again. There is the beautiful Thompson's gazelle with some, I think, spur-winged lapwings. I'm not very familiar with the birds here, but I think that's what those are. Sorry, Kurt, I missed your question. I'm just going to ask for it again. Here it comes. Now, Kurt, you're wondering if the lions wouldn't get distracted by us. Now, yes, they could be distracted by us in theory, but no, they're not going to be now, and I'll tell you why. I'm sitting next to her. She won't be distracted by us. It's quite possible that if we were to go too much closer, the Thompson's gazelle would move away from us. They won't be as confident around us as she is, but you can see she is totally unaffected by us. Now, as darkness falls and the light fades, we're not going to put a white light on them. We're going to put what we call infrared light on, which means they will be unable to see it. We will be able to, with this rather clever camera that Jean-Dre is operating, we will be able to view them without them kind of being disturbed by the light, and most importantly, without their prey being alerted to their presence. So no, that is a very good question, Kurt, and it's very important that you understand we're going to do our utmost not to disturb these lions or their prey. We want to be observers, not participants in any lion hunt that's going on here. Isn't this special? An amazing standoff going on. Look at the wind blowing the smell of the Thompson's gazelles onto them. Mark Kim, you're wondering if the... Sorry, 1 second. You're wondering if lions here have a sort of a taste for specific kinds of prey. I think it's largely to do with what they can catch. Some prides do specialize. Apparently this pride here, when the wildebeest are in the area, which they are now, or the 1.4 million of them have come into this area now, and yes, they do have a preference for wildebeest and zebra apparently when they are here. But when they aren't here, what they like to eat apparently is warthog. They eat a lot of warthogs when they're on their own here without the wildebeest and zebra, and also topi. Topi is a sort of a sesame, if you know what that is. It's a most beautiful antelope. It's my new favourite. Well, it's a close favourite. Close to the nyala anyway. Now, if you've just joined us, let me just give you an idea of what's going on here. We're sitting in the Mara Triangle. That is in southern Kenya, in East Africa, possibly the world's most exciting continent. And we're watching the Kichwa Tembo pride of 5 lionesses and 2 young male lions of about 2 years old each, stalking some Thompson's gazelles. The other lions are just behind here, watching the progress of the slightly older one, seeing if she's going to be lucky, for they will almost certainly share in the meal if she's successful. She's being completely and absolutely patient. The light is starting to fade, and that is going to favour her. She's watching them very carefully. There we go. Now she's starting to move. They've obviously turned away from her. Oh, this is amazing. Hello, Brian. You say you love that this job is now in the Mara. Great job to everyone involved. Well, I love it too. I'm absolutely astounded by the things that I have seen here. And I hope that all of you will be able to experience the Mara one day, especially from the glorious luxury of Ngama Mara, where we happen to be staying. We didn't expect that, and wow, it is quite something. Sitting perched atop the Ululolo escarpment, you'd actually be able to see this lioness from here with a good pair of binoculars. And what she's doing, every time they turn around, look away, she takes a couple more steps forward. You can see her colour is perfect. This is why a lion is tawny. Look at the colour of her in the grass here. I'm going to move slightly forward. This is mainly because we're about to be overtaken. And just to keep you posted, we have got special permission to be here after dark. So we will be following them after dark. And what I do not want to do is frighten those Tommies. Hello, Stan. You say, do I know the name of the pride? Stan, the pride is the Kichwa Tembo pride. Here she goes. Here she goes. She's going to move up to that termite mound there. Look at this. Look there, they're running. They've run away. I don't know what happened there. I think she stood up too soon. You see, she went over the top of the termite mound. Yeah, they're looking straight at her. You might also be able to hear a bird going. And I suspect quite strongly that that's an alarm call. I can actually see the little blighter in front of us. Jandre, on the very longest stalk of grass. No, don't worry about it. It's flown away. And I think that is what alerted the Tommies. Then they looked up and they saw the lioness coming over this little termite mound. Well, that was the first hunt. Let's see what happens for the rest of the evening. She's still following. We might turn around and go back to the rest of the pride. But one thing that we are going to have to do is pick up our Askari. He's one of the park staff who's going to accompany us in the night to make sure we don't get lost. Now, Nilesh, you have asked a very pertinent question. I'm going to follow this lioness because the rest of them are behind us, and I think they will follow her eventually. Nilesh, you're wondering why she's hunting alone. Do they always hunt alone? Or you thought they hunted in groups? Nilesh, they do hunt in groups, but sometimes they hunt on their own. Now, we've just heard from one of the Ngama Mara chaps that he's seen a young zebra being killed by a single lioness, and we know that lionesses on their own eat just as well, in fact better, than lion prides with less than 3 lionesses in them. So 2 and 3 lionesses eat more poorly. Here comes the Tommy now to the right hand side. It can see the lion. What they're doing, let me just tell you what they're doing. They're coming up here simply to make sure that she and her kin are without or outside of the flight distance. There they are. So Linesh, they will hunt on their own sometimes, but normally they will wait for the pride. Now, I've never heard a Thompson's gazelle alarm call. Now, for those of you watching us on Facebook, we are going to be continuing with this broadcast into the night. So join us perhaps for the rest of the evening, and we'll see if the Kichwa Tembo pride doesn't kill as darkness falls. Jandre, can you hear that? The Thompson's gazelles are going, whew. They've got like a whistle at their alarm call. Whew. There. It's not quite a whistle, but it's not quite, you know it's an alarm call, but it's not like an impala's alarm call. Let's move up a little bit here. Angie in Ohio, you make an interesting point. You say it seems that with all the grassland here, rather than the wood of the Sabi sand, that they have an easier time here. I'm not sure that they have an easier time here, Angie. I think they have a more difficult time because there's less to hide behind. But at the same time, I also think you're right in some respects, because of course there's more to kill. There's actually so much more here. Now, Jandre, while she looks off towards the western horizon, why don't you show everybody the incredible sunset that she's looking at? Or just stay on her. He's very recalcitrant, this cameraman of mine. I'm going to beat him fairly shortly. There we go. Look at that. Hello, Jason in Sri Lanka. You're a new viewer. It's great to have you with us. You want to know why it is that the lions have got a tuft on the back of their tails, and are they the only cats that have that? Jason, they are the only cats that have that. And there's something else about lions that is also completely unique to them, which you might want to think about. And that, of course, is that they are social cats. Now, as you watch that cat walking perfectly camouflaged through that bush there, What is the most obvious thing that you can see? There are two things. One, of course, the pom-pom on the end of the tail, and the other, the black bits of the ears. And so what they're doing, or what she's doing there, is giving a signal to the other lionesses when she lifts her tail, and that's what they follow when they're on the hunt together. Now, I think we should move forward and follow her a little bit. Gendry, how's the weather out there? Is it not inclement any longer? Okay, we're going to have to leave her briefly, and so I'm going to ask if Becca can take you back to South Africa, because we need to go and pick up our Ascari, and then we'll be back on the hunt very shortly. So let's head to Jamie. She has got Mr. Wahlberg's, my favourite two birds in all the world.
Just checking in with Mr. and Mrs. Wahlbergs, as James termed them. Our beautiful pale morph Wahlberg's eagles that are resident right next to where we live. And aren't they such beautiful birds? This, I think, is the female. Giving us a good stretch there. Yes, you beautiful girl. Warming up her muscles, checking all of her feathers are in order. I said I think it's the female because in birds of prey, the female tends to be slightly larger than the male. Now look closely and you'll see a second individual, a second Wahlberg's eagle, sitting atop of their nests. Now these birds have just flown a good couple of thousand miles to where we are now, from their migratory route from the northern parts of Africa right down to South Africa. And what's phenomenal about that is the fact that they return to the same nest site each and every year. Now watch this male in the nest. I can't tell. There's something in there. It's either an egg or a chick. And that is such fantastic news, because last year when we watched them, as far as we could tell, they weren't successful in raising a young Wahlberg's eagle. But it looks as though this year they might be successful. He's been tending to something. I don't know if it's an egg or if there is a chick there yet. It seems a little bit early for a chick, but it is possible if they mated and she laid an egg relatively soon after they arrived, which was about 3 or so weeks ago. And when he first jumped on the nest, he started giving this really soft contact call, but very, very soft, not their usual whistle, which is quite high-pitched and quite far-carrying. And it did make me wonder whether he wasn't communicating to a chick. Of course, in birds of prey, and in fact quite a few bird species, they are monogamous. 90-odd% of bird species are monogamous in some way, whether it's seasonal or whether they do in fact, like these pale morph Wahlberg's eagles, mate for life. And both parents will be dedicated to raising the chicks. And the male will help to build the nest, he'll help to make the nest comfortable, and when the time comes, he'll help to incubate the nest, or out here, because it does get so hot, in certain cases, on certain days, he will also help to shade the egg, to make sure it doesn't get too hot. So rather than sitting on it, he just stands above it with the space between him and the egg for the cool breeze to blow through, and at the same time making sure that the heat of the sun doesn't strike the egg too much. Absolutely wonderful. This is the joy of the live safari experience, as we do, yes, we get the big cats and the elephants and all kinds of extraordinary big animals, but at the same time we get to follow the stories of not just the big cats, but also amazing creatures like our Wahlberg's eagles. And because, unlike being on safari, you don't just have to spend a couple of days here, we can follow these Wahlberg's eagles for weeks and months at a time. And if they do raise a chick, we'll get to watch it as it slowly grows older until the point that it's ready to fly the nest. Now, birds of prey take a long time to reach full sexual maturity. In some cases, like with the batelier, it can be up to 7, even 8 years before a young bird manages to get its adult plumage or reach that sexual mature stage. So it does take them much longer than it does other birds. See, he's constantly busy there. I don't think it's a chick though. I think he's just fiddling with the nest, maybe with an egg, and just checking that all is well. I wish we could somehow see up into that nest. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Just to get an idea as to what's happening there. I'm sorry, I'm just listening to the Game Drive channel where all of the guides communicate with each other. And it does sound as though the Nkuhumas have just been found, but they're still on Buffle's hook, unfortunately. So our lions of Djuma are not within easy reach. We can't go there. It's north of our Traverse area. Let's jump on the back with Tayla, and I'm going to go and see if I can't sort out some of the issues with our audio. And then we'll see you in just a little bit.
Look at that beautiful sun. Hello again, everybody. We finally arrived at quarantined open area, and for those of you who have been following over the last few days, we are documenting the lovely green growth that is coming through the ground after the little bit of rain we've had. So let's head to our our main frame, everybody. Now, yeah, that's perfect, David. Now you all have to take a screen capture there, everybody. Very nice with this golden light coming through. Everybody got your screenshot? Now we're going to zoom into the termite mound for our closer inspection on the grass. And you can see it's not looking so brown and dingy anymore. Perfect. You can see all that lovely green grass coming through. Now remember, you're going to pop these on Twitter so you can hashtag Safari Life so we can see the growth and the changes over the last couple of days. Everybody got their shots? Wonderful. So now, David and I have come to a conclusion of what we're going to do for the rest of the evening. We're going to do a boundary patrol. Now, I know Jamie was trying to do one last night and unfortunately didn't get to do so. And one of the reasons why we're going to search along the boundaries this evening is that often I've seen lots of African civet tracks, you see lots of genet tracks, and also we're hoping to see if maybe Karula, who's a female leopard that we see on a regular basis, if her tracks or any other leopard tracks have come into the property. So that's the idea for this evening. So we're going to slowly start making our way to the most southwestern boundary. We're going to start there. Oh, no, we're not going to start and go anywhere. We're going to start, and we're going to head down there and slowly start our patrol. We're also going to be checking some watering holes just to see if anything else is maybe coming down for one last drink before the sun sets. And it's setting quite quickly tonight, or either that or this day is just going very fast. Right, well, I get to our southwestern destination. I think go on over to James and the Mara where the lions are on the move.
Everybody, the lions are on the hunt, and in the left-hand side of your picture, quite possibly the most gorgeous sunset I've ever... Well, it's pretty up there. It's a pretty gorgeous sunset. Just look at that. Isn't that incredible? And apparently my audio is no good. I don't know why that is the case. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? So Andre, how's the audio your side? Everybody, this is the technical glitches we have of broadcasting out of the Mara Triangle as the lions go on the hunt. Jean-Andre, how's the audio your side?
Yeah, it's slightly softer than it was. But,
Okay, Jean-Andre says it's slightly softer. We're not really sure why at this stage. Isn't this gorgeous? Have you ever seen a scene like that, everyone? The Kitretembo Pride hunting across the plains of East Africa with a glorious sun going down in the background. Looks like one of the young males and a lioness. And now they do this sort of play behavior, which is so wonderful to watch, just before they kind of get into the real business of the hunting. Now, what we need to try and do is A, keep an eye out for holes, because I don't know this area, and I think there are holes about, We also need to try and figure out where the other lioness is. We came back to this lot, and they look like they're on the hunt to me. Where the lioness who went off in front is, I'm not sure. But they're all stalking across this grassland now. Hello, James Richard. You're saying how close is the hyena den, which is a very good way for me to just sort of recap what happened last night. Last night we watched these lions hunting. They killed a baby zebra, and they were followed at the end by at least 40 hyenas, if you can believe it. And James Richard, the hyena den that they stumbled on yesterday evening is quite a long way behind where we are now. And so they're moving away from it. They're moving in exactly the opposite direction to the direction they moved yesterday. I can't believe we've been lucky enough to have them, well, just moving and hopefully hunting very shortly. Now, just to keep you posted, of course, we are going to carry on into the night. We're going to do it with infrared light. So the gorgeous colors you're seeing now will be replaced with black and white. And that's from the infrared lighting that we have. And Tayla and Jamie will obviously get darker much later than we will here. Probably about 45 minutes or so. And so they will be in color while we are in infrared. We're not about to do it just yet, but I will warn you when we go to infrared. It does make the picture not quite as pretty as this, but lions hunt at night, and the best way to follow them at night is with infrared. And off behind, just to the left of your picture, there is a great storm brewing. I'm hoping the wind is blowing it away, because the wind is blowing sort of from the lions towards that great storm. She comes up onto the termite mound just to get a slight look, to get a bit of a vantage point, which will give me an opportunity to see if I can see the other lions. In front, I'm scanning the thickets there. There's a rather large thicket in front of us. Jandri, you got sight of any of the others? Just the two back here. Oh, it's beautiful. The smell, everyone. The smell of the grass and the gentle wind blowing in from the northwest is just too wonderful. It smells like fresh straw with a bit of green mixed in. Now, Douglas, I'm going to answer your question once I've told Jandre what this lioness has spotted. There's a very large warthog, Jandre, just off to the right-hand side at about almost 3 o'clock. He's quite a long way away. That's what she's been looking at. And I wonder if that's not where the other lions have gone, although there's a vehicle up ahead. I can't see the rest of the pride. Can you see the warthog? Yes, there we are. They've grown big here, those pigs. That is a warthog, isn't it? Not a buffalo. So, sorry, I've completely lost the question that I was supposed to be answering. Can we have it again, please, Becca? Rebecca is directing from the Sabi Sand, everybody. Oh, here's another lioness. Two next to us there. One male. Oh yes, Douglas, you're wondering about why the two young males have not been killed in the takeover of the coalition here. Douglas, it's because they're not cubs and they're not adults yet. They're just kind of members of the pride. They haven't hit puberty, so they're not trying to mate with any of the lionesses. And likewise, they're not small enough to prevent their mothers going into estrus. So there's no real reason for the males to kill them. It's not impossible for the males to kill them, but they're pretty much out of the woods when they get to their age. I'm just going to wait for them to settle there, and then I think we'll move forward. They've definitely seen that warthog. He's in a very good position for them, because the wind is blowing from him to the lions. I think the rest of the lions are probably where those ones are looking now. Let's sneak a little bit forward. How marvellous. Hunting with the Kichratembo pride again across the plains of East Africa, just below the Olulolo escarpment. Olulolo, I have to pause every time I say that. Olulolo escarpment. The two vehicles up ahead. And I think what's going on there is that they are with the lions. We keep going, ease our way across the clearing here, because I don't want to miss any action. They're in the thicket there. Hello Marianne, you're wondering where, when these lions have cubs, they hide them for safety, given that there doesn't seem to be nearly the same number of places for them to hide as they have perhaps in a more wooded area. There are actually lots of places, Marianne. There are termite mounds, there are plenty of drainage lines and gullies, small thickets and forests, and that's where they'll hide them. This lion, yes, now we're in a kind of catch-22 situation. Do we wait with this one, or do we go to the others who are clearly in the lead of this hunt? Because this one might be standing here as an ambush. I'm going to make the call to go forward, everyone. We're going to see if we can find the others, just simply because we know where these ones are. We know that they will probably come out of the thickets, at least go towards the thickets, and these ones may well come out. The other fancy toy that we have here that we'll use if it doesn't rain is something called a thermo-imaging camera, and what we're able to do with it is shine it into the blackness of the night, and if there is something that has body heat, well then we will see it shining up as a white light on the screen. Now these lions are now moving, the ones we were looking at are moving towards us. Just going to see if we can't catch sight of the others in the thicket here. Getting into this thicket in this car is going to present something of a challenge, if not an impossibility. We will do what we can. Something is going on here, something is afoot. We should pull briefly off the road here. And we'll show you the others coming back towards this way. Jean, shall I go back a little bit? Sorry. Let me just... Are you right there? There we are. That's just a little bit easier. I'm going to keep a look on the right hand side. I think they've lost the others, you know. But let's sit here and wait. We've got sight of 3. They're looking this way. So let's see what happens. We're going to stay here. We're not going to go back to South Africa just yet. Let's wait and see what the lions of the Kichwa Pride do. It's a good opportunity for me once again to welcome any new viewers that we might have. You're watching a live safari. This is happening right now in the Mara Triangle of southern Kenya. Part of the Mara Serengeti ecosystem, 2 million hectares of unfettered wildlife access these animals have, or unfettered land access they have. They can move anywhere they like. The lions, of course, absolutely territorial, so they don't go down into the Serengeti of Tanzania. But, of course, the wildebeest, the 1.4 million wildebeest, 300,000 Thompson's gazelles, 200,000 Grant zebras, they move to and fro in this endless cycle of migration between here and down in the southern plains of the Serengeti. Also time to welcome Mr. Nokia to this show. That's Nokia giving us a warm welcome. Let's see what these lions do. I think they're going to try and link up, perhaps have a bit of play behavior, and then we'll see if they hunt. Jean-Andre, how's the precipitation up there? Dry. Excellent. I may just pop my head up then and see if I can see what's going on with the other lions. There we are. Just settling down, getting a bit of a vantage point. It's still light, everybody. It's still very good, sort of normal light for us. So these lions are not really on the enthusiastic hunt just yet. I think they'll wait for it to get a bit darker. They do hunt in the day, the lions of the Mara Triangle. We've seen it 3 times already. And just listen. You can hear crickets, lots of insects coming out as a result of the rain we've had here. Frogs calling. In the same way that you've had all of that new life coming out of the ground after the rains of Juma. Everyone, this is just too wonderful. Andre, are you able to push the levels a bit on my microphone? I think I may have covered it with too much sponge. Alright everyone, what we're going to do, we're going to just take, what I want you to do is take a deep breath in. And you can smell a bit of rain in the air. You can smell a bit of straw. You can smell green grass. But mostly you can just smell Africa. And that's what we want you to experience. As the sun sets, the rain falls in the Serengeti, in the southern parts of the Mara. And the lions think about going on the hunt. Right, we've watched the sunset in East Africa. Let's head down to South Africa to watch the sunset there.
A slightly different setting to what James has had in the Mara. If you look very closely as this sun sets, you can actually see the Drakensberg Mountains. Can you all see that dark figure? That's actually a beautiful big range of mountains. And look how quickly the sun is actually setting. Just a moment ago it was above the branch that's just touching the top of it. And now look how it's going down. And this boerbean, this lovely big tree in this area, is providing such a beautiful silhouette. And I love the way that the leaves are just rustling. Unbelievable. And the thing about sunsets is that it's only going to get better as that sun drops behind the horizon. Hopefully we're going to get some lovely purples and blues and oranges, which you can already see that are going to catch a few of the clouds that are just up in the sky behind us. So lovely. You can also hear all the birds starting to chatter away now too. So beautiful this evening. Just a tiny touch of wind. Other than that, I think we're going to have a very interesting evening filled with lots of insects, which, as you saw last night, provides much entertainment, especially when you're trying to sit nice and still and film something. Hey, David.
Yes.
This can prove to be quite difficult. Look at that, it's just about to pop behind the mountains. I don't think you've ever had 2 sunsets in one drive before. How spectacular is that? Here it is. Now the bottom is just dipped behind the Drakensberg mountain range. And if you've just started watching the show while you're catching the end of the sunset, we are here in South Africa, in the Sabi Sands of South Africa, so we're sort of the northeastern corner. And then we've also got James, who is in East Africa, in Kenya, in the Mara to be precise. So it's quite nice, and hopefully you'll be able to see the lions that he's been following. Perhaps they get on the move and possibly make a kill this evening. That's what we're all hoping for, everybody. And I'm waiting patiently for our lions, the Nkahuma Pride and 2 Birmingham males, to cross the boundary and come back south again. They did manage to find them, by the way, which is very exciting. They've actually moved off of that buffalo kill, so hopefully they're going to come back and drink. So part of the boundary patrol that David and I are going to be doing this evening is to end up back on Buffels Hook cut line and to wait patiently for those lions to come across. There's quite a bit of water where they are, but they have to go across the road to get to it. Thankfully, the drainage line that runs through there. The puddles of water have all dried up, which has been fantastic for us. So we know that they're going to have to come to either Buffelshoek Dam, or there's a slight depression that's filled up just west of that. So they've got two options. I haven't heard anything about the cubs just yet, so I'm not sure where they are. Possibly they're just maybe lying in the thicket. It sounds like where they have found these lions, it is quite a dense area. And only a few more seconds now, just before this sun dips behind the clouds. That's not a cloud, that is a mountain range, sorry. We've had a question come through from AP about what is the highest peak on the Drakensberg Mountains. I'm not entirely sure. I will have to follow up on that for you, but I reckon it's about 2,000 meters, somewhere around there, if I'm not mistaken. But I will double check that for you. David, do you know?
Nope.
Nope, David doesn't know either. So we're probably going to have to ask Mr. Google. And possibly they will be able to give us the answer. I haven't done too much exploring of the Drakensberg. I think it is pretty amazing that we are able to watch that sun completely disappear behind the mountains. And I know Safari Ginny thinks so too. Isn't that amazing? See how those colors are just starting to change now? And we're going to leave this beautiful site and carry on with our patrol. And hopefully when the sun drops a little bit lower, we may get some really nice reflections and colors coming off of those clouds. So if we do, I'll hopefully be able to show you as well. But let's carry on. And if we can get Wendy to start. Come on. Come on, Wendy. It's okay, Wendy. She's being very, very nice to us this afternoon. A little bit tired. We're actually coming up to the most western boundary in the Sabi Sands. It's quite interesting. I don't think many people get an opportunity to talk about it. So we're right here on the western boundary, and basically the next fence line is about 170 kilometers east of us, and that fence line will then be on Mozambique. So it's quite a distance away. So everything outside, further west of the Gowrie Gate, is all community land. And these fence lines weren't put in very long ago. Can you believe that? They were actually erected in 1988. So before that, the lions and the leopards and the buffaloes and all sorts of things could just wander into where the communities were living. There was a very, very basic fence, but definitely nothing electrified. So you can imagine anything would just sort of walk across and head into those areas. And my tracker that I used to work with down in the southern sands, he always used to tell the most hysterical stories of how he would have to take his dad's cattle out to go and graze every morning after breakfast when he was quite young. And as boys do, they never want to hang around and actually watch the cows. So they all group up together and go play a game of soccer. And then, of course, just before the sun sets, they've got to go and track the cows and try and find where they've all gone. Now, the rule is that if you don't bring home all your father's cows, you don't get to come home either. You've got to spend a night in the bush. So the young lads learn very early as to how important it is to track. And this is how they start the art of tracking. So Candy always used to say to me, he'd find 10 of the 15 cattle, and then he'd find another 5 that are mixing with a herd of buffalo. And this would obviously be quite a challenge to try and separate the cows from the buffalo, which I always thought was quite funny. So we're just checking. You'll see me looking again over my shoulder, just looking for tracks. This hour after the sun is set down, so this sort of crepuscular period, is very important. This is now often when the nocturnal creatures start to come out. So from the African civets to the genets to the aardvark, the anteaters, honey badgers, this is when they're probably going to be, this is when they are going to be most active. So that's what we're hoping to see, somebody crossing in, or perhaps a sleeping leopard has awoken from its slumber and we'll catch it on the move. There's some really nice animal pathways coming to and from this road, and hopefully we'll get a cat walking down one. Otherwise, we're also listening out to see if anybody has managed to see those lions coming south. That's also on the agenda for the evening. Nothing's said it. So I have to say thank you so much to Steph in Final Control. So apparently the highest peak is 2,280 meters, and it's 3,000. Sorry, I'm getting sorry. It's 3,282. Got some power lines, as you can see, and they're causing a slight amount of static, and I couldn't get the number quite correctly. I heard 2. Now that's quite high. Can you believe it? My goodness, I didn't even realize. My guess was about 2,000 meters, so I was way off. And perhaps I'll have to go and explore and find the highest peak. So nothing just yet, everybody. I just had to have another quick glance on the ground. And while David and I think bumble along this very long road, let's go see how Jamie is doing.
Now, instead of a boundary bumble, I have arrived on Zoe's road. And I'd like to take you back. I'd like you to cast your minds back to when I first started. I wasn't that new, but I was pretty new in this area. I still didn't know the blocks as well as I know them now on the different roads. And just off to the west of me, in the block west of Zoe's road, we followed a massive male leopard Tingana into this particular area. And we were driving along merrily, having a great time. I'm trying to think, I think it was Brian on camera with me the first time. And as we were driving along, all of a sudden the vehicle, we stopped, we were watching him, he was calling, rasping, that sawing sound that male leopards, or all leopards, make. And as we trundled along, all of a sudden the ground disappeared beneath me, completely gone. The whole car went onk, and there we were stuck. And that was because we had fallen into an old aardvark burrow. It happened twice to me as we watched the animal that we were following disappearing off into the distance. It was terribly embarrassing. We had to get Eugene to come and rescue us the first time round. Now I'm thinking that might have been a very positive incident, because it might have been highly instructive for me as to where to find aardvarks tonight. And hopefully you can all join me. Please don't go to bed just yet. Please stay. I was really hoping, but yes, I'm really hoping that we might get to see an aardvark. Tonight is the night. I've got an aardvark kind of a feeling. I said please don't go to bed because there is a whole load of dwarf mongoose here. Most of them have gone into that termite mound down there, off to my right. Yep, they disappeared in there. And I can see some of them. Higgsy, you see that fallen tree? Yes, thank you very much. There we go. Dwarf mongoose on their way home. It's bedtime for them. The nocturnal time of day is definitely not their favorite time. And in fact, quite often neither are the mornings either. If it's a chilly morning, then they often decide to... This movement distracted me. There's a squirrel in the tree there. You can see it on the balanites. Up a little. There we go. In the middle of your screen. There we go. Tree squirrel. Also planning on heading off to bed. Look at their toes, just quickly for a second, since you've got this view of them. 1, 2, 3 in a line together. They do have 5 toes, but 3 of them sit at the top of the foot, and those are the 3 that's immediately a really nice giveaway if you're looking at squirrel tracks. Those of you who are into tracking and getting a tracking screenshot list together. The 3 toes together at the top of a tiny foot is very often a giveaway that you're looking at a tree squirrel. The tree squirrels have started their sort of reinvasion of my bedroom at Inger's. They really, really like the fan and the cool air that it blows across them. And they settle down on my bed occasionally in front of the fan and walk into my bedroom to find 5 squirrels all lined up on my bed. I can't say I'm terribly chuffed with that whole deal, and it's amazing how they do manage to find their way in. But we are in their home, so we share our space with theirs. We can see you, you know, squirrel. I know you're completely frozen because you think we can't, but we really can. There you are. They are kind of cute. Bright, intelligent little eyes. And I'm sure those of you who have yet to meet Steph, who is one of the other guides and our operations manager, I'm sure when you do get to meet Steph, he'll tell you all about his pet squirrel. That was rescued from birth, or from when it was very, very tiny. That pet squirrel is one of the most terrifying creatures I've ever met in my entire life. And I'm not the only person that feels that way. It takes one look at you, because of course it has its established family now, which is Steph's family, and takes one look at a stranger and proceeds to launch itself at you with teeth bared, or occasionally just grabs you and bites you. And they've got surprisingly sharp teeth. Actually, not surprising, they do have very, very sharp teeth. Oh, you got a bit there? Having a jolly good groom. Okay, little squirrel. I think we're going to continue on as darkness starts to fall. It's definitely always an incredibly exciting feeling as we head off into the gloom of the evening, knowing what exciting things await us. As the squirrel hops off and goes to bed, it's a boy by the way, we're going to continue on and see what else we can find. Right, so I was telling you my aardvark story. Those of you who were watching will remember it, as we lost Tingana, as he disappeared off into the distance. I'm hoping for an aardvark tonight, maybe a honey badger, white-tailed mongoose just to play it safe, maybe a porcupine because I still haven't seen one here, and I've never gone this long in an area without seeing a porcupine, yet we know they are here. A civet, the range of nocturnal beasts that we could see, and of course the big cats as well. I'm just listening to updates on the Game Drive channel. The Nkuhumas don't seem to be going in the right direction for us. Ideally they would be going south, they're going north, further into Buffelshoek, but that's okay because there's plenty of other things to find. Perhaps the Queen will pay us a royal visit, the Queen of Juma, Karula, the female leopard, and maybe even with her 2 cubs, because of course if we're in a position where we happen to find her, we can sit and look at her with the infrared light without having to worry about putting a spotlight on or anything like that. And then there's the whole variety of bugs and frogs and all sorts of things. It's the most exciting time to be out in the bush. And just a quick reminder, if you missed out on the start of our sunset safari, it is World Rhino Day, which means if you have any rhino related questions, we won't be putting them on the screen of course, but if you do have any rhino related questions, perhaps there's something you've always wondered, please do feel free to ask. We can and we will chat a little bit about them. Now Tracy, you are wondering why is it that we don't show rhino? Tracy's watching all the way in the UK and it is lovely to have your question. The answer to that is it is WildEarth taking a stance of solidarity, WildEarth and Safari Live, a stance of solidarity. As I'm sure you know, Tracy, there is a massive problem with poaching in South Africa and throughout Africa, and it is something that it is a policy that we've established as a way of helping to keep the rhinos safe. They did used to be shown on the live drives. That has since stopped. They are one of my favorite animals to see. And actually, where I used to work, I spent most of my time, or a large percentage of my time, tracking down, trying to find rhino, checking they were okay, doing full moon boundary patrols, driving around in the middle of the night. So they are definitely